I recently shared a video of a Black woman who apologized for siding with media misrepresentation of Black men. She admitted that she fell into the propaganda and believed they were abandoning Black women by voting for Trump. After the results came in, though, and we saw that Black men, like usual, remained loyal to the Democratic Party, voting above all other races of men for Kamala Harris, she issued an apology and looked forward to the time Black men and Black women could put the bickering behind them and start afresh. And honestly, she isn't the only one to do this. I've seen other women go out of their way to give their flowers to Black men and acknowledge how they held Black women down by backing their political agenda.
First of all, I owe Black men an apology because I've been really hard on y'all. I really have. And I, first of all, like to say thanks for showing out. Appreciate you.
But in spite of all of the positive things Black women are coming out to say, the ways some of them mention feeling loved, supported, healed, and even seen, are Black men accepting the apologies?
For the ones who did not show out, man, F you.
Well, not quite. After hearing some of your guys' feedback, a simple video isn't enough to persuade you. Quite frankly, there has been some deeper concerns men have felt about their women for quite some time. And while many of you voted Democrat, that doesn't mean you still don't have issues and concerns with Black women in your community. This clip from BGS sums up perfectly how many of you guys are feeling about these apologies. And if I could sum it up in one way, I'd say empty and insincere. But let's hear what he has to say, and I'm going to also share some of your guys' comments from my video while we listen.
White women and Black women, especially in this election, made their habit of going in on Black men. The betrayal of 200 years of, 300 years of slavery and Jim Crow, and then to be betrayed, it was my word, 63, 64 with Pauli Murray, basically siding with white women and putting white women in civil rights and allowing them to get the affirmative action just so that Black men wouldn't get it because they didn't want Black men over them, right, in the family. And Black women have been on this tip since 1750. And then 1850 with Sojourner Truth. They have been coding up with white women forever. White women code up with their men because of race, because of their own self-interest over other groups. And guess who doesn't code up with their men? It's Black women. Black women don't code up with their men. Black women code up with themselves. Would I forgive Black women for the betrayal? I told him no. I said I can't forgive them for the betrayal. I can't code back with them and build and on the wholesale scale without some severe contrition. Cheating is one thing, betrayal is another, in this political sense, in this social sense, and in this economic sense, as far as Black men, especially for the Black manosphere, without some severe contrition, without adopting a new contract where you have to give up a lot. They have to compete for us. Black men have options. If she don't earn it, don't give it to her.
It goes down to the apology feeling insincere. If we were saying as Black women that we feel loved because Black men took care of us and did what we wanted them to do, well, the question is from Black men, well, do you see us? Do you care about our political agenda? Are you even aware of it? Are you aware of our needs and our issues? Or do you simply want us for your votes, but don't need us for anything else? I mean, after all, it has been women, including Black women, who have said, we don't need men for quite some time.
Here's the 2-minute story of how I built a $10 million a year online business and how my mistakes and successes can help you build your business too. Ready? In 2006, I started a mobile bartending service in Orange County, California. It was lots of fun, lots of cash, but also lots of long weekends. So by 2007, I turned my bartending knowledge into my very first digital product, Bartend for Profit. I had purchased a 950-page book on HTML, read it twice, and then went to work building a website and an ebook that 9 months later, after working day and night at my desk, made my very first sale online. That changed everything. Oh, and that very first customer found me on YouTube. So as a result, I began creating YouTube videos like crazy, and even more sales started to come in. And because I had a film degree, some of those videos were pretty good. That's when I noticed more people wanted to know about how I was making those YouTube videos than those cocktails. Go figure. So by September of 2011, I launched my complete YouTube training course, Video Traffic Academy, and I generated a whopping $400,000 in my first 30 days. and the product was only 97 bucks. Overnight, I became...
My bad. Now, in a book from Dr. Tizon Johnson, he breaks down multiple governmental programs that have benefited women, minorities, even Black women, but could not name one program that was solely for Black men. And in reality, Black men are usually the last to benefit from really any policy that this nation passes. And the few times when Black men actually did have a chance for advocacy or programs that directly address their needs, it was usually opposed by Black women. And so giving men a pat on the back for supporting women's rights while being unwilling to acknowledge or even understand Black men's needs or their own political agenda, even when their needs are unmet institutionally, yeah, it has many Black men feeling undesired, unneeded, and it makes them feel like these apologies are just fake. I honestly think Black men are right to be suspicious of women who are so easily swayed by media misrepresentation of Black men. Because what that is basically showing is that these ladies do not actually have a real loving relationships with Black men in their own life. It shows what they already believed about Black men. If a simple report or a simple blog or video could persuade someone so easily to break away from their men, it's because they already had those seeds of belief in them to begin with. It is going to take more than a few apology videos to see the relationship dynamics between Black men and Black women improve. Let's just be honest. And Black women have to also be willing to understand and acknowledge the reason Black men might also be angry or upset or just apathetic. Being willing to listen and hear and understand is certainly the least we could do. Even if we don't fully get it, even if we don't fully understand, at least just listening to someone and seeking to understand a person you truly care about, right? Isn't that what you do? Look, patting men on the head for staying in line and supporting our cause while making no effort to understand their needs and their causes and their political agenda, it does come off as insincere. And while I am the first to acknowledge that Black men have plenty of work to do in the Black community in America, when it comes to restoration, Black women also play a role. And we must also show that the community is worth saving. And that comes down to being inspirational and not confrontational and interrogative. Because quite frankly, a lot of Black men are even questioning whether or not the community is even worth saving, is even worth working for. And again, that goes back to feeling undesired, unmet, and disrespected. Men and women are actually a gift to one another when we know how to get along and understand our God-given roles. I mean, women were literally created to come alongside and help partner with her husband to nurture the plans, the visions, the insights, the dreams that God has given to the man for the entire family. It's not supposed to be a competition. It's not supposed to be he's going his own way, she's going their own way. It's when men and women work together and they are in God's covenant, they actually do beautiful things. They do things that produce legacy. But unfortunately, so few people have an idea of what that actually looks like. But we're supposed to be a gift to one another. Women are actually supposed to be a gift to a man and a safe place for him to nurture his seed, not only for children, but ultimately the bigger vision and dream that he has for his life. He's not supposed to be trying to fight his entire life and getting over the complexities and the trauma and the horrors that he experienced from his mother or his wife or the different women.
If I died tomorrow, I would want every neuropathy sufferer, including you, to know this. It sounds crazy, but give me 60 seconds to explain. Well, everything you thought you knew about neuropathy is 100% wrong. The pain, tingling, and numbness that torment you have nothing to do with age, diabetes, or poor circulation. And you were all...
And vice versa. Women aren't supposed to spend their entire life trying to get over the traumas they experienced from their daddy, okay? Or their ex-boyfriend or the baby daddy or whoever. Like, that was never God's intended plan. So I wanted to be very clear that what's going on now is not necessarily normal. It's actually quite dysfunctional. It has nothing to do with how God created us to be, but there is actually a better way, and there is another option by which people can relate, but that would actually require change. And I think certainly for a woman, it would be, at the very least, having the willingness to understand, to listen, and then to make adjustments where we recognize where we're wrong. Nobody's saying men aren't wrong. Men have their own issues and have their own challenges that they have to hash out between themselves. But they have to first be inspired to fix something. And if women on their end have said and are saying that they don't need men, they don't desire a community, then how can they be expected to wait around for something that you've articulated you don't desire and you don't even want? But to get anywhere close to this depiction, it first starts with honesty, humility, and the willingness to acknowledge wrong and back it up by some action. And will that happen? What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section. Also, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Check me out on Patreon if you haven't already. Also, be sure to become a channel member where we have other exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. And be sure to check out my new kids book where I talk about Black hair and teaching young girls to love and embrace the hair that God has given them. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye. I'm really excited to announce my new kids book, Aisha Learns to Love Her Hair. Aisha's hair is stunning, but she struggles to see its beauty. Through encouragement and wisdom from Grandma Lily, Aisha learns powerful lessons about self-acceptance. Aisha's journey is a heartwarming tale of family, culture, and confidence. Share her magical journey with your little loved one today. Available for purchase. All right. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Good to see you. What's going on, Game Changer? Good to see you in the building. For those of you guys who are joining, be sure to like, share, and subscribe on the way in. And thank you for joining me this afternoon, evening for some of y'all, depending upon where you're at in the States. I'm going to try to keep this concise. We'll see how well I do. We will see how well I do. But I wanted to circle back with this whole topic. I wanted to circle back with this topic of why, from what I have observed, right? I'm not a man, obviously, so I don't want to say that I know, entirely the gospel truth. But from what I've observed and from what I've heard and seen, I wanted to talk about specifically why I believe there are Black men who are just genuinely struggling to trust Black women, or Black American women specifically, because I do understand there are those of you guys who follow me who still love Black women, are committed to wanting to be with a Black woman or have a Black family, but you just have a really difficult time connecting with the culture that you see being proliferated or promoted in the States, right? So I'm going to be specific to the challenges that I see coming out of Black America, as that's obviously my culture. But I wanted to continue with this conversation because I think there's just more and more evidence that I'm seeing to really make the case crystal clear. And I think until there's an acknowledgement of the challenges that are existing in the dating market that are on the side of the women, then I think there's not ever going to be any kind of progress at all. We're going to continue to see the same conversations as we have done to a certain extent, just repeat themselves decades after decades. So that is what I want to get into today. I have quite a few receipts that I want to show you guys. So bear with me. But let me do this real quick. Let me start by going over some examples that I have addressed maybe over the last month or so, right? So I think from what I've observed, and you guys let me know down in the comment section if you want to add to this, if you guys have anything that you agree or disagree with. As always, super chats are the best way for me to ensure that I see your comment. But yeah, and like, share, subscribe, show support to this channel if you like what we're doing here. But the first thing that I've observed is politically, Black men, by and large, I do not think trust Black women politically. And I want to show you why, right? So circle back to the conversation or the interaction that happened with Sabby Sabs a few weeks back, where she reacted to one of my videos where I talked about Black marriage myths. And, I responded. And so it was just this question of basically, why are Black women not married? Now, what we found in her video, really what she essentially did was, in my opinion, regurgitate the same talking points we've heard for the last few decades that have since been debunked, that basically Black women are not really married because Black men are either in prisons, no money, or gay, right? That's kind of the that's kind of the way that she broke it down, and very professional, of course. But like, if you were just to sum it down in the most layman's basics terms, it would be that, like, Black women aren't married because Black men suck. That's kind of like, that's what I got out of it. So obviously that made a lot of people, side eye and feel a little confused, because they're like, wait, this is someone who I know very much advocates for the Black cause, for Black community. And for those of you guys who are not as familiar with Sabby Sabs, I'm going to play a clip of you just to give you guys a sense of the different things politically, like where she is. She's definitely more in the leftist space. To my understanding, she was a Bernie supporter. But I'm just going to play you guys this one clip and give you a sense of why she has a pretty solid Black male following. Some of you guys who are my followers and members support her, right? And agree with a lot of her work. So I'm going to play this clip real quick, just so you guys can get a sense of her beliefs and, just her, where she's at politically. And then I'm going to continue to explain why I think this all is connected into Black men having less and less trust with Black women politically, even if they are on the same quote unquote team or same side. Okay.
The reason why I asked you about a Black agenda is because I noticed on your website, I did not see that. And when I hear this phrase of infrastructure, I feel like, again, that is in my opinion, what I've heard, again, this is the same type of talking point that I do hear, particularly from elites and, people that are from these elite academic institutions that live here in Massachusetts. And they truly believe that all you need to do is fix infrastructure. But the reality is there is a debt that is owed to descendants of slavery in this country that has not been paid. And that repair does need to be made.
I think you have to take a systems approach to this. And this is not an elite thing for me, because I know where I came from. All right. There's a lot of Black bourgeois who talk about that, but they don't want to address the issue either. And the fundamental issue is
I'm very well aware of that, Dr. Shiva, and I've actually called out those individuals on this show multiple times. I'm very well aware of that. And I don't mean for you to get defensive. But the reason, again, I have called out those people on this show multiple times. My viewers be the first to let you know. So I'm very well aware of that. But I think you are bringing up two different things. 1 minute where I was mentioning to you reparations, which is a debt that is owed. And now you bring up fighting for racism. And fighting
both things. Both things, Sabby. No,
there's a difference. Well, let me finish what I was saying. There is a difference between racial justice and a debt that is owed. And that's just what I want to get across to you. No, right, they are two different things.
You're trying to put them into two different buckets. I'm saying they're interrelated. So the reparations at MIT that need to be owed was that you have a bunch of people who came who were never given infrastructure, at all. So the debt
that is not how reparations work, Dr. Shiva.
No. That is your definition of reparations.
No, Dr. Shiva, with all due respect, I don't try to tell you how to do science. So I would really appreciate it if you don't try to tell me.
That's like saying, wait, Sabby. You're looking at a dark-skinned being.
No. Dr. Shiva, I do not try to tell you how to do your job. I don't try to tell you about that.
My job.
What I am saying, Dr. Shiva, what I am trying to, if you interrupt me again, I'm going to mute you.
Okay, so you guys get a sense, right? You're getting a sense. She advocates for Black America. She is obviously pro reparations. She's been very, very, very vocal about her support for reparations. And I see some of you guys here, like you said, I still like Sabby. I listen to her regularly. I don't always agree with her, but she intends well. And yes, and of course, my goal here isn't to say that you shouldn't listen to her. I know there are many of you guys who actually do support her, do rock with her, do agree with her idea with respect to, a Black male political, not only Black and political, just a Black agenda in general, and trying to push for policies that are ultimately going to improve the the relationship and just the experience of Black Americans. This is why she pushes for reparations and things like that. Now, the challenge that came up for some of you guys is that while you'll see that a lot of her politics is centered around, trying to secure reparations for descendants of slaves and just ultimately, dealing with the debt that is yet paid, right? she is not married to a Black man, right? She's been open to the fact that she has a white husband. She's been open about that. I don't know how many of you guys, some of you guys actually were not aware of that. Some of you guys actually were not aware that she was in a interracial relationship until that happened. And so I know some of you guys, or at least from what I have observed, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I have observed, I have noticed that there are Black men in the community who will not take, quite frankly, a Black man or a Black woman seriously who talks on Black issues, but does not go home to a Black partner. This is exactly what I've heard you guys say, right? I'm not putting a judgment on it, you know, either or. I'm just saying from what I've seen observationally, there are a significant amount of you guys, or a significant amount of Black men who do not want to follow another person on Black issues if they actually do not have a Black spouse. So in the case of Sabby Sabs, although she does, you know, she is advocating or talks about what, you know, Black policies, or essentially trying to create policies that will help improve the state of Black America or American descendants of slaves, right? She is not married to a Black man. And some of y'all took issue with that, right? And then also, I think when the video that, you know, the video that she responded to me, where she talked a little bit about Black relationships and Black love, and she responding to what I said about Black marriage myths, you know, she said some things that I know some of y'all were like, this is kind of sounding very sisterhood-like. You know what I mean? Like, this is the same old, like, you're really good when it comes to politics, but with relationships, wow, like you just went straight up on the sisterhood BFF train, right? And again, these are just things that I've observed some of y'all saying. So the reason I'm mentioning it is, so we have in one case, and I've seen this before, in America, it is okay for a Black woman to have a white spouse and still be pro-Black. It is okay. That is still considered a thing. That is still considered acceptable. And the reasons for that is partially because of the propaganda that's been around for quite some time, that there are not good enough Black men. There aren't good enough Black men around. So Black women are essentially forced to now have to marry into other races because there just are not marriageable men. So, but I'm saying, because of those ideas that have been around about interracial relationships or Black male marriageability, it basically gives Black women the ability to be in interracial relationships, but still be pro-Black and still be put in positions where they're pro-Black. And there's not as much scrutiny. This is what I believe to be true. This is what I really believe to be true. Right? But I'm saying this because some of y'all, although there might be these general standards that from a societal standpoint is not necessarily seen as a double standard, some of y'all are going to look at this and be like, I have a hard time trusting somebody who claims to be pro-Black, but does not have a Black spouse, period, in the discussion. Some of you guys feel that way. So that is what I observed when it came to Sabby Sabs and this conversation that really started a few weeks ago about Black relationships, Black love, Black marriage, and what I've seen from you guys when it comes to, well, how do I trust a Black woman politically? How do I trust a Black woman politically who's supposed to be about fighting for or helping to advocate for a better reality for me when she's not even creating a Black family, right? So these are, again, things that I've heard. Now, I wanted to move over to Candance Owens because she's way in a whole other side politically, right? The thing about Candance Owens, and here's the thing, there's certain things about Candance Owens that I've heard that I agree with. Socially, there's many things that I've heard Candance Owens say that I agree with. There's also many things that I don't agree with her. But as far as like the toxic, degenerate representation of Black femininity that has been just plastered all over media and all across the world for the last, gosh, who knows how many decades, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with how Black femininity is expressed today, how it's promoted. I hate it. I think it's deplorable. I think it is demonic. I think it is evil and disgusting. I do not agree with the modern conception of Black femininity as it relates to American media. It is not good. It is toxic. It is bad. It is the very thing that creates broken families. So I agree with her when it comes to that and some of the things that she has said speaking against a lot of the BFF or the other buffoonery that we see coming out from just broken and confused Black women. And there's many of you guys too, Black men, who support Candance Owens because she is vocal about speaking against BFF, right? Or speaking against the toxic sisterhood narrative that is, like I said, just always being promoted where it seems like wherever you go on social media. So some of y'all support her because of her views. You support her views politically. You support her views. You're a Republican, right? Are you lean in that way? You're more conservative. And so, and again, I'm speaking to those who might be in agreement with Candance Owens politically. But again, the challenge that we have with her, for those who might even identify as a Black conservative, or be in agreement with the things that she says, or the way that she critiques, Black women who express degenerate aspects of femininity. Obviously, we know the other problem is that she's also married to a white dude. And even if you are a die-hard Black conservative, as that is a thing, I know Black men, generally speaking, Black men who vote still tend to vote for the Democrats, but there are more Black men who are going to the Republicans for multiple reasons. But even if you are a die-hard Black Republican, some of y'all also are still going to have an issue with the fact that she's married to a white man. So can you really trust what a Black woman has to say about the Black community when she doesn't even go home to a Black man every single day? Right. And I want to play a little why she explains why she married her husband.
It just was. What you will know, a lot of times people think that when people come together, it's because of how they look. Actually, I actually read this in a Thomas Sowell book, or maybe it was a Shelby Steele book. People tend to marry their IQ, which is interesting. You think like if you see two Black people together, oh, it's because they are two Black people, but actually they are probably better matched based on their IQ. I fell in love with my husband just because I think he is one of the most brilliant people ever. I love him very much. The stuff that we talk about, I'm like, there is no other person that I could have married. We have 3 beautiful children who are growing up in an environment that I am just so happy that I was able to, what every parent wants, to give your children better than you had, and that's all I can say. I'm just the luckiest person in the entire world.
How was he gonna feel about you not finding him attractive and just liking him for his mind?
What do
Oh
you
my God.
Her husband is not. It was a bonus that I also think that he's beautiful and gorgeous and handsome, but it really was about his mind. I know I'm.
Okay, so again, I just wanted to play that real quick. She argues that she fell in love with her husband's mind. I think there was somewhere else where I saw her mention IQ and him having a higher IQ and her connect with him on that level, right? There's a lot to unpack there, but either way, you said people don't marry with IQ. Either way, what I'm trying to articulate to you is that no matter what side that you're in, you're going to have prominent voices. There are prominent voices of Black women who are married, prominent voices of Black women who speak on Black issues. Again, no matter what side you're on, whether you're on the far left, far right, or you just moderate, there are prominent Black female voices, right, in positions of influence and power, who are speaking on Black issues, but do not have Black partners, do not have Black husbands, do not have a Black man that they go home to every single day. And so for that very reason alone, there are Black men that I've observed who can't take that seriously. They literally can't take it seriously. They're like, I don't care what you say. I don't care if on paper I agree with the words that are coming out of your mouth. If I agree with some of the things that you've articulated, like the very fact that you are not going home to a Black man means you can't fully understand and you can't fully advocate for us. Again, this is what I've heard. This is what I've heard. You guys correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but these are the things that I'm starting to observe. And the reason I say this is because as somewhat of a side note, as Black women, I don't think we're necessarily encouraged to listen to Black men when it comes to their desires and their needs with respect to relationships. That's not like cultivated in the culture. Now, it might be in certain households and it might be in certain subcultures, like maybe in churches or things where they still have more traditional values. But by and large, like media and media representation, media outlets are still they're from a feminist lens. And so there's not really space, or there's not ever really a incentive for women to go out of the way to try to understand what men are going through, or how they feel, or how they think. That's not really, that's not a part of our culture. So I'm saying this because I am trying to make it a point to observe and understand more what is going on. Obviously, being a Black woman, growing up around all sisters, I know intrinsically some of the things that we think. I still have Black female friends. So I'm already tuned into what's going on there. But it takes me a little bit more effort to understand what's going on the other side, what's happening with Black women, what are the perspective, right? And so I spend a lot of time trying to observe and listen and see what's going on, so that I can understand both sides. So again, what I'm saying is no matter what side you land politically, whether you were on the left, whether you were on the right, there are prominent Black female voices of influence, by the way, who have strong political connections and ties, who speak on Black issues but are married to white men. And there are a significant amount of Black men who's, quite frankly, cannot take that seriously. They just can't take it seriously. Even if they agree with their policies or agree with their perspective or agree with their critiques, they can't take it seriously because they're just like, it doesn't seem like it's real or authentic. Or at best, it's questionable. Right, so that's why I wanted to talk real briefly about what I've seen. We talked about Sabby Sabs, who's on the left. Now we talk about Candance Owens, who's on the right. Both prominent in the political space. Both have a lot of connections, have a lot of influence. Both speak on Black issues, openly speak on Black issues. However, can Black men take them seriously? Can Black men see them as allies? Can Black men see them as allies? I would argue no. I would argue that many wouldn't, for the very simple fact that they have white partners. And I think that's something hard to hear. Another thing that I have to mention is I think because Black women's dating preferences, I would argue, are not really criticized. Black men's dating preferences are criticized, but historically Black female dating preferences have not been as criticized, in my opinion. And again, that is because the narrative for quite some time has been that Black women don't have a lot of options. So because if we believe that Black women don't have options, then you're going to be less critical of whatever they choose, right? So because of that, you live in an environment where you had Black feminists, you had the Maya Angelou's, you had the Nina Simone's, you had I think Toni Morrison, different people, Lena Horne, even, like different people who advocated for Black women or had Black presence, were Black feminists, or identified as that, who either had white partners or flirted with the idea, right? So what I'm saying, we have historical examples of prominent Black female voices who were considered pro-Black, who had actual white partners or, again, flirted with the idea. So this is nothing new. Like, that's been going on in Black America for quite some time. So nobody really considers it strange when that happens. But what I'm trying to say is we live in an era now where you do have Black men who are going to look at that strange. You have Black men now who are starting to look at the partners, looking at who Black women married, to consider whether or not that they are actually someone that they can trust politically. I don't know that it was like that before. I don't think it was to the same level before, but I think now with the advent of social media and you having this space where, just really Black men having a space in a certain regard, where they can voice their opinion and be heard, you're starting to have more Black men, I think, be very, very particular about the dating choices of even Black women, and start to actually criticize or critique the dating preferences or the marriage preferences of Black women in the way that Black men were historically treated or criticized. Right. So that's just one thing that I've observed. Shout out to you, Inspired Truth Broadcast, with the $4.99. It says, just dropping in, keep up the good work. Hope y'all in the chat are having a great weekend. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the support, you guys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. And the best way to ensure that your comment is seen is to send me super chat. Also, you can show some love on Cash App. I appreciate you guys very, very, very much.
That go the money. That go the money.
So I wanted to just set the stage there. Now, let's move over to Michelle Obama. Now, the thing about her is that on the surface, it's a Black woman married to a successful Black man. They've raised, 2 Black daughters. And so as far as image is concerned, she kind of blows these women out of the park. As far as, she married into a Black family, so that's out the way. Because I'm saying Black men who are not going to take a woman seriously because she has a white partner might look at Michelle Obama and be like, okay, like she could advocate for us. Or she's someone at least who we can respect. She has influence that is for the betterment of the Black community, and we know that because she actually married a Black man, right? And so on the surface, this might actually be what someone would consider. She might be the kind of woman that I think the community could see as trustworthy, someone who advocates or wants to be an ally for Black men, right? But the challenge is, especially over the last few months, there seems to be an agenda for her to say things or do things or allude to things that can be considered very, very, very misandrist. Not only disrespectful to her family or ultimately or specifically her husband, but can be misandrist and promote feminism and be seen as disrespectful. And ultimately, from what I've observed, again, you have less and less Black men who are supporting Michelle Obama, not necessarily because of her policies, but because in the ways that they feel like she's actually going out and now starting to disrespect her husband and the legacy that they built. And they're like, well, what's going on here? Like why do we need to know? Why do we need to see you flirting with somebody online? Why do we need to know about your bedrooms? Why do we need to hear you complain about how expensive it was for you to have to buy food in the White House? Like, why do you always have to tell the world how happy or how unhappy you are? Like, why do you need to let everybody know how hard your life was? I see this with Michelle Obama never been allied to Black men, man. Some of y'all weren't buying it out the gate. But what I'm saying is strictly from an image standpoint, politically from an image standpoint, a Black woman married to a Black man, Democrats, like one would think on the surface that, okay, this is somebody I can rock with. But it seems like she's using, especially of lately, she's using her influence. She's using the platforms that she does have to promote misandry or feminism, to undermine the legacy that they built. I still don't really fully know what's going on, but it just seems like she's trying to let the whole world know that, hey, I'm actually not as happy as you think. Like, if nothing else, what her podcast have been showing me is, hey, I'm not as happy as you think. And I don't know if it's her trying to, I don't know. I don't really know what it is. It's still confusing to me. I really don't. I scratch my head. I'm like, is this a political agenda? Is this just her? Because I listened to a podcast of her maybe a few days ago, or it was a clip of her, and she talked about how before she met Obama, she was more radical revolutionary, right? She was more like anti-system. I remember her saying that or alluding to that, like that was just how she moved. That was her politics. Actually, I might be able to find that clip. So I don't know if that's just who she is, if she's always one that wants to just kind of buck the system. But I don't know what this is about. But all I'm trying to articulate is Black men are looking at this too, and they're just like, she is definitely not an ally of ours. Because look at the way that she treats her husband. You can't even treat your husband with basic respect. I sure can't think that you're now going to go out of your way to try to advocate or influence or push for policies or things that will be in the benefit of Black men that you don't know. You can't even respect the Black man that's in your life that you're married to. How can you respect the masses? Right. And so again, that's what I'm saying is I'm looking and I'm like, from what I've observed, I don't know if there's really any prominent political voices or just prominent voices in media in general that Black men can look to and be like, these are people that we trust. These are people who are pushing for policies. These are people who are pushing culture to a certain extent, I can trust them. I personally don't see anybody that I feel like really is doing that in a way that seems authentic or substantial. You guys let me know how you feel in the comment section if I'm wrong or if I'm missing it, but this is just from what I've observed. Now, I want to show you also too some examples of, these are just prime examples that I think a person can undermine. I don't say undermine their legacy, but kind of, or make it harder to feel like you're trustworthy. Now let me put this. This is where Michelle Obama's talking about how she didn't like Barack. Some of you guys may have seen this, some of you guys may not have, but I'm just gonna play it just in case.
10 years. Well, I couldn't stand my husband.
You do say that. You
10 long years. And guess when it happened? When those kids were little, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because, you can be all great individually when you're just married. You got your life, he's got his, you come together. It's all, ooh, good to see you. Bye. Take it easy. And then you have kids.
Not take it easy.
Take it easy. You're traveling. That's great. Good. I get to hang out and watch the TV I want to watch.
Right.
But the minute we had kids, it was like, where are you going? And how far? And you start measuring. It's like, how many diapers did you change? And oh, you're golfing? Yeah. Oh, you got time? Oh, you got time to golf? How you at the gym all the time?
Why you in my brain right now? I'm like,
that's when all the measuring starts, because you got this project.
Yes.
And guess what? Little kids, they're terrorists. There were 10 years. Well, I couldn't stand my husband.
So that's just one little clip, right? I mean, there's many more. I've actually shared some of them over the last few weeks on my channel. If you guys haven't checked out, I talked about where she was flirting with the one dude, and I think that was a publicity stunt, honestly, to try to get people talking, but she was doing that. Then she talked about how she was complaining about the price of food and how expensive it was to live in the White House and how expensive it was for her to have to buy designer dresses. Then she was talking about their bed business. So it's just been all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what is going on, but one thing is clear, like, if we ever wanted a case study on how to disrespect your legacy, how to disrespect your husband, how to disrespect, like, this is it. I mean, now you got terms going out there like dusty and cheap. I don't know if that's BGS, but I'm just hearing people use all these terms to kind of talk about the way in which it just seems like she's like low key, high key, like always throwing shade at her husband publicly though. And that's where it's like, what is going on? Like, this is not just a random Keisha. This is literally the FLOTUS, the former First Lady of the United States, of like the former First Lady of one of the powerful, if not the most powerful nation in the world, going online talking about how she don't like her husband, and how he got on her nerves, and how she didn't think he was gonna win. Like, does the world really need to know that? And is that respectful? So again, what I'm saying is, like, I'm just giving you guys different examples. These are people who have a lot of influence politically in the media. And from what I've observed, who really seem to fail when it comes to being a strong ally for Black men specifically. And of course, I'm not saying that this is, some of you guys still like Candance Owens, you still rock with her. Some of you guys still like Sabby Sabs. And I'm not saying that you don't have to. I'm speaking more from what I have observed, from what some of y'all have told me specifically. You're not going to trust a woman as a politically or anything, if she, on Black issues. You're not going to trust a Black woman on Black issues who is not married to a Black man, period. And then you're not going to trust a Black woman who seems like she goes out of her way to disrespect her Black husband every 15 seconds, right? So these are, again, are things that I've heard on. If we're to ask why Black men are struggling to trust Black women, I go back to politically, it doesn't seem like there are any really real allies. Anybody there who actually really cares or believes in what it is that they are dealing with, or really sees it as an issue. Michelle Obama, she spends a lot of her time, also when she is advocating for something, she's advocating for feminist policy, right? Like, she just had this article went out today that talked about how, or not today, I saw it earlier this week, where she says, Michelle Obama says creating life is the least of what a woman's reproductive system does. And she says, actually, let me pull this up real quick. You guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. It's an article that I saw make its rounds. I think it was some other, I don't know if it was another podcast, but she was basically advocating, Says Michelle Obama says creating life is the least of what a woman's reproductive system does. And then she goes on to talk about, the right to choose and men don't get it. So many men have no idea what women go through. Obama said former first lady said that a woman's unique ability to grow human life inside her body is the least of what the reproductive system is for. So, I mean, I don't know what the most of what the reproductive system is for, but just all I'm trying to say, I'm giving you guys an example that when she's advocating for feminist policy. Or things that benefit women. And here's the thing, I'm not against for advocating for things that support women. It's just, it seems like in America, it usually, a lot of things come at the expense of men. It's like either we're advocating for women and then men get screwed, or it seems like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of policies right here that are for the family, right? Like pro-life, I mean, that's a whole other different thing. Because I'm like, to me, if you are advocating for deleting a baby, I don't care how pro-female you are. How about you're deleting a baby and it's a female? That doesn't seem very that doesn't seem very feminist. That does not seem very, female gender loving. If you were advocating for the deletion of Black girls, because remember, it's not like women aren't just getting pregnant with Black boys. I mean, if they were just getting pregnant with Black boys, then there actually might be more people who would actually support that policy, but they're not. Black women are also getting pregnant with Black baby girls. So if you're advocating for policy that would actually remove Black girls too, it's like, to me, I don't know how loving that is. But anyways, that's just besides the point. I just wanted to give you guys examples of the kind of messages that are going out from the former first lady, and none of it really seems to be advocating for Black men at all. On top of the fact that she seems to go out of her way a lot to always kind of say little like snarky remarks about her husband that just seem really outlandish to me, in my opinion. Yeah, you're like, the only thing, I mean, to me, the only thing the reproductive system is for, I mean, it's literally called reproductive system. I'm like, well, what else is it supposed to do other than reproduce? To me, sometimes I think some of these talking points they come from these think tanks that give these politicians things to say because they don't make sense. It's like nobody with she's a smart woman. Nobody with two brain cells rubbing together really actually believes that. Like that, to me, that sounds like, okay, you're just, obviously there's an agenda. But anyways, I just wanted to show you guys an example. Ultimately, my point is there is not trust politically. By and large, I do not think there's trust politically. This is actually why you have the Black male political agenda that was created by Black men, right? The now 19-point Black male political agenda was partially created for that reason, right? Black men being like, okay, first of all, we need to, it's obviously clear that nobody out here is really like caring about what we're going through, or nobody's really going out of their way to try to figure it out. So we need to come together and start to articulate our needs, right? So I'm like, I mean, in a certain sense, the Black male political agenda was born out of the understanding that there doesn't seem to really be a safe or a healthy space politically for Black men to ensure that their needs are being met. And so they're trying to rally together and be like, okay, this is how we do this. But the Black men political agenda was actually born out of feeling like we don't have no allies. That's what it was born out of, from what I can observe, from what I've seen. Okay, so going back to the question, why more reasons Black men are struggling to trust Black women? Primary reason would be no trust politically. No trust politically. Now, a second reason I want to take you guys into why I believe Black men have a hard time, more Black men are having a hard time trusting Black women, is because of the double standards. Now we're talking socially, what's going on in the relationship sphere, what's going on dating and mating. Socially, there is an issue with double standards. And these double standards have been around for quite some time. Okay, so I'm now gonna bring you guys to some other examples, but before I do so, let me just see how we're doing on likes. Let's see how the likes are doing, you guys. Be sure to get those likes up. Let's see what we got. Okay. So, oh yeah, we got to get those likes up, folks. Y'all can do it. I literally have I see 300 people watching me and I got 117 likes. Y'all can do better than that. So we're going to go on a quick break. Get those likes up, fam. And then once we get those likes up to a proper place, then I will move on to some of the next clips. Okay, let's see where we're at now. Let's see where we're at. Okay, guys, we're gonna do one more break. Get those likes up. Get those likes up. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Okay. All right. Shout out to you with the 5, Gregory. It says, Shay, expect more of this criticism of Black men by many Black women on the one hand, and on the other, asking them to save the community Black men. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, and I don't mean no disrespect. I mean, Black women aren't really innovative when it comes to this messaging. They're not really innovative. It's like wash, rinse, repeat. Literally wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, even my husband was telling me this. He was like, okay, so this is his theory to me, right? He was like, okay, so now with Trump in office, we're in the reign of Black feminists. So you're going to start to see Black feminism, you know, more pages start to get more clout or more traction. You might see them being a little more pushed more in the algorithm. He's like, this is the season of the Black feminists, right? You'll start to see them have what seems to be more influence. This will happen for maybe a few years. Then what happens as soon as Black feminists lose their steam, then the divestors and the swirlers start to go back up in the algorithm, right? So we just kind of got out of the swirler divestor. I don't want to say we got out of it; they're still happening, but I'm like, they're not as prevalent in the algorithm as they were maybe a year or two ago. Right now, it's more Black feminism that seems to be getting a lot of traction in the algorithm. But this will happen for a few years, and then it's going to go right back to the swirlers and divestors. And the reason I'm saying that is because they're two sides of the same coin. Black feminism ain't much different than swirlers and divestors. They are two sides of the same coin. But what happens is when the Black feminist talking points kind of run out of steam and they can't get the traction online, they just don't really fit for what's going on politically or socially, then it goes back to the swirling, divesting, and the hypergamy. So, but I'm saying those are pretty much the cards. Those are the two cards that Black women have to play with. There's not really much outside of those narratives. You know what I mean? There's not much any innovation outside of those excuses. You're gonna rely on Black feminism or swirling and divesting, which is deeply connected to hypergamy. But that's pretty much all you can expect when it comes to these kinds of topics and relationships. So that's why I'm saying, like, this message right here, I'm like, yeah, this is not surprising, because this is pretty much what's been going on the last few decades. At least that's what it seems to me. Okay, so we're going back to the question, why more reasons Black men are struggling to trust Black women. I broke down politically why that is the case from what I've observed. Essentially, there's this belief that there are really no Black male allies. There are not allies for Black men. And, this was also partially why, as I mentioned before, the Black male political agenda, that's what inspired it. Black men got to the point where they're just like, okay, we're seeing that, we're clearly seeing that there aren't really people out there who are fully advocating for us. And so we have to take it upon ourselves to first be able to articulate what it is that we need, and then start to move in such a way that's going to ensure that our needs are getting addressed. So we talked about why Black men don't seem to necessarily have political allies that they can trust. And again, you guys, this is just from what I've observed. You guys can definitely tell me if you have different opinions, because I'm not a Black man. I'm speaking strictly from what I've observed and heard from you guys. Now, what I want to move to now is Black men not having, or not say not having trust. There's no trust politically. There's also double standards. There are clear double standards. So there's no trust politically, first reason. Second reason, now when it comes to socially and trying to interact with Black women just from a peer-to-peer level, there are double standards. So now what I want to do is I'm going to turn your attention to a clip that was sent to me. This was a super old clip. I mean, I don't know, this was like back in the 90s. This is a really old clip. I don't know exactly when she aired. But I want to play this because I want to show you guys how many of the conversations have not changed. So this is a clip, I want to say it's from Ricki Lake. I don't know exactly when Ricki Lake was a thing. I think she was like, I don't know if she was late 80s, early 90s. You guys can tell me in the comment section, any of you guys who were there when she was like around her time. But this is a story of a clip from Ricki Lake that I want to play. Okay.
You think about what Ricki, if you think about what I said, the Black men go for what's easy up there. There are white women throwing themselves. Are you saying white women are easy? Oh, up there, there's like 50% of them are. They're managing to offend every race here today. Yes.
I agree that love is blind and all that kind of stuff.
You know what? Okay, you guys, let me go back because there's actually a clip right before this. There's a clip right before this that I want to play. It's all connected, but there's a clip right before this that I want to play because you guys bear with me. Okay, here it is. Okay, sorry. Let me play. I gotta play this clip first, and then I'm gonna get back to the one that I just showed you. I got the timing mixed up a little bit. My bad. Okay, my bad. Let me do this. Let's see, where do we go? There we go. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Okay. So this is, I don't even know when this clip was, but this was back in somebody's day. This show was back in somebody's day. Y'all let me know in the comment section if this was your day.
Relationships. In the year 2001,
2001.
should we be able to look for love in whatever shape or color we find it? Well, our next guest, Naya, says technically yes, but not if you're deliberately crossing one entire race off your list of potential mates. And she's convinced that her brother is doing just that. Naya, which race is off his list?
Black women.
Really? So
yes.
He will not date women like yourself?
No, he doesn't. He won't even approach a Black woman. He only approaches white women. And it offends me because my brother's been raised by 4 Black women. And the fact that he doesn't even consider Black women, to be someone that he would want to date really bothers me. I live in a town where it's predominantly white. I mean, I live in Pullman. It's a college town. I go to Washington State University. And I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a hoasis, a whole nation, but there's some hoe activity going on in there. And a lot of the black men are, are targeted because if you're a Black male and you go to Washington State University, they automatically consider you to be an athlete. So you got groupies that are after the Black men and just basically their panties drop when they meet a Black guy and they think that he's an athlete. And my brother's falling into that trap.
So what do you say to him? You ask him why he won't date a Black woman?
I asked him and he said that Black women are rude and that he can't hold a conversation with them. And I'm just like, you know what? We're in a college town, so obviously they're educated in some form, the reason that they're there. So, I mean, I don't know where he's getting that idea from.
All right, well, let's hear from him, shall we? Let's meet your brother. Will, come on out. you doing? So all black women are rude, huh? Your mother's rude, your sister's rude?
No, I never said that. I said black women ignore me when I try and talk to them.
What's the problem with black women then?
There's no.
Y'all, you guys, okay, this was back in, real quick for context, this was back in 2001. 2001. This is what almost 25 years later, we're having literally the exact same conversations. He sat up there and said, black women don't want to talk to me when I approach them. But let's continue. I had to just weigh in there.
No problem with black women. I mean, I think they're very beautiful. I think they're very intelligent. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, my sister, she's been trying to like introduce me to black women down there, but I mean, I just can't find any interest in them. You know what I'm saying?
Black women are strong, positive, and assertive. And if that's a definition for being rude and have an attitude, then I have it.
I mean, because
wait, did y'all hear that she said black women are strong and assertive? If that's the definition of having an attitude, then I have it. Did y'all? Oh my gosh. I'm laughing because I'm like, literally nothing has changed. Literally not one thing has changed. But I had to play this because I'm trying to give y'all some context. We're talking about the second reason black men have a hard time trusting black women. I talked about double standards, but I'm going to let this finish playing and then we'll go.
I mean, you're not even giving them a chance. You haven't approached one black woman since you've been living
what are you talking about? Oh, well, so you want to go there, huh?
What?
You be dating all them white dudes, so what you talking about?
I smell a hypocrite. May I say something? Yes.
Okay, y'all hear that? She had all this smoke. She had all this smoke for her brother, dating white, Becky with the good hair, and she's sitting up there with Brad. And he said it, and she started smiling because she know that he ain't lying. She had all this smoke. She had all the smoke, but never once considered that her dating outside of her race could also be seen as a problem. Never once, didn't even cross her mind. She was so confident about it that she straight up went there on national television trying to be the moral police of her brother, literally trying to be the moral police, not ever once considering whether or not she could come off as a hypocrite. Remember when I mentioned double standards? Let's continue.
But I also date black men. I also date Mexicans.
I ain't one black man since I've been down in Pullman.
Okay, you've only been staying with me since March.
Yeah.
I've only dated 3 guys. One guy was a quarter Japanese, one guy was Mexican, one guy was white. So what? I've
They
dated
were
black
all
guys too.
3 white.
Yeah, Naya, I mean, are you contradicting yourself?
No, I'm not contradicting myself. But if you think about
Y'all see that? This was back in 2001. I mean, the quality looks worse than that. But this, back in 2001, we was having the exact same conversations you're having today. How somehow when black men date out, they're self-hating, they don't like their mama, they're secretly gay, they're DL, they want to be controlled, you know what I mean? They're buck broken. When black men date out, they're all of those things. But somehow when black women do it, they're empowered. It's because they're victimized, because there aren't any good black men around, and they just have to go where they were loved. So y'all see how the narrative changes based upon the genders that are at hand. So when I talk about why you have black men out there who are having a hard time trusting black women, it's because of these double standards. Okay, so let me go. I'm going to finish this clip. Now, this is the clip I accidentally started off with. Let me go back and I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to get to the super chats, you guys. I appreciate you guys for the super chats. Okay, let me go right here. Let's go. Okay, this is the one that I wanted to play. I got some receipts, y'all. Bear with me.
Ricky, if you think about what I said, the black men go for what's easy up there. There are white women throwing themselves.
Are you saying white women are easy?
Oh, up there, there's like 50% of them are.
They're managing to offend every race here today. Yes.
I agree that love is blind and all that kind of stuff. But when a person says that they can't date within their race because they're rude and all that, then you're generalizing all black women.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I have 10 sisters. Yeah, I have 10 sisters, so I was
You're mad right now.
raised by strong black women. So it's not that I have anything against white women. I just prefer my own. But that doesn't make me, dislike them or anything. It's just that the examples I saw were strong, positive, beautiful black women. So that's my taster's choice.
So I wonder if Will, taster's choice, the dark blend.
Exactly. No cream, no sugar.
I wonder if Will, Ziggy, you didn't have strong black women
No.
around you?
That's not the case.
Oh, okay.
I know some black women. I know some black women who won't date black men because they say they're all like freeloaders and drug dealers, but they ain't never met me.
Give me your number after the show.
Yeah, this production, this is yeah, I'm laughing at this production. This is hilarious. What is going, like, who is this black woman in the back doing all the ad-libs? What is going on?
For the record, as everyone watching, are you a single gentleman?
Yes, indeed. This is my son, by the way.
Really?
I'm a single father of 4 sons.
We need to have you guys for the hot father-son pageant coming up later in the season. For sure. We're going to get your number.
Okay. So I just wanted to play that clip. I just had to play that clip real quick from that was, she said it was 2001. So I wanted to play that real quick just so you guys could listen to the conversations that were being had about relationships. And I want y'all to notice that literally nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. You have black women who are complaining, black women who are complaining that they got black men in there who don't want to date black women, and they're either because they're intimidated by them, or they hate their mama, or they're self-hating. And these same black women who have so much smoke for black women who date out are swirlers. Like, are literally swirling. Like, it's insane. So when I talk about double standards, this is another obvious reason why you got black men out there who have a hard time or are struggling to trust black women. Okay, real quick, I want to acknowledge some more super chats I saw come through. Shout out to you, Chief Ruckle, with the 50. It says, Shay, what's your take on French President Emmanuel Macron being munched in the face by his wife? Donation in advance for a video of your thoughts and what the reaction would have been legally and politically. Have the shoes been on the whoo? That's a really good point. I actually have been meaning to cover that off. I don't know if you remember, because I was planning on doing that in members only. Yes, so that is on my list on things to cover off. But real quick, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm not as familiar with politics in France. I'm not as familiar. I think I started looking at Macron when I saw that video go viral. I'm not even gonna lie. And what I did not know was that his wife was significantly older than him. I think it was, I don't know if it was Demetrius, one of my members, who mentioned that to me, and I looked at their story. And I will say this, their love story, had the genders been reversed, in the love story, he'd be in prison. Because what happened was he met his now wife when he was in grade school, and she was his teacher. She taught him in grade school. And the story reads, they started getting closer and closer, and then eventually he expressed his love to her, but she was a married woman and she was a teacher, and the parents found out and they got uncomfortable, so they sent him off to school. But when he got of age, they actually got married. So they met, he married his teacher. So I'm just saying, if the roles were reversed, there was absolutely no way that would be considered. I don't even know he'd be in politics. I don't know if he'd be in politics if we found out about that, So, but anyways, I'm just saying, there's a lot to unpack there. But I do appreciate the support, and I will definitely thank you for letting me know. I will try to make it a point to cover that off. Thank you again so much. Okay. All right. So let's see what else. It says, it is much harder to fool the younger black men because of the red pill manosphere and what they saw happen to many boomers and Gen X. Yes, I mentioned this. I actually had a tweet of mine that went viral recently, or got a lot of feedback. And I mentioned how it seemed to me that Gen Z doesn't really care about race as much. Like there's almost non-existent. Race loyalty seems to be almost non-existent. I'm sure it's here, like I'm sure it's there, here and there, certain people, certain spaces, but like it's not on the same level that it was for boomers, for Gen X, for like millennials. I feel like it kind of started really scaling off, but boomers and Gen X, I think for sure had more of the pressure to try to, especially Black men, from what I've heard, they had more of the pressure to to stay loyal and to keep it real, whatever. Yeah, so that's my uncle. That's my uncle. My uncle, he crazy. Okay. So yeah, that's I do think because Gen Z, from what I've observed, tends to be like they don't care as much. They're like, who's gonna be best for me? That's all they seem to care about. Now, you guys, I mean, if you're Gen Z, you can let me know in the comment section if I'm misrepresenting, but that's just what I believe to be true. And this is even based upon some of the conversations I've had with Gen Z and relationships and all that stuff. Especially since you have so many Gen Z women who are queer, gender loving, and they're pans one day, and the next day they're polyamorous, and then the next week they want to be monogamous, but then after that they want to be polysafe. Like there's so many different sexual turns and relationship styles that are among Gen Z. At this point, men are like, I just have to go with somebody who's normal because it's just like the pickings are slim. I was talking to some woman who she was a queer, polyamorous, polysafe. Yeah, she wanted to be polysafe, but then she wanted, I think, a queer, same gender loving relationship with a Black woman, but she said that she had the most luck with Indian men. Like this was one of my consultations, and I was so confused. I'm like, I am so confused. I don't know where to place you. And now I'm understanding why you got a lot of men in college who aren't even dating. Even if they do go to college, you're not even interested. Because I'm like, I can't even place you. Like you're not even like, it used to just be you were gay or lesbian. Now it's like you got to pull out a whole dictionary to try to articulate your sexual preference and orientation, which can change literally every week, depending upon the person's hormones. But anyways, that's besides the point. Let me continue. Here it says, why do they not? Why are you asking obvious questions? Too much logic. It's just too much logic, my 2 cents. Like that, it's just, there's too much common sense that is needed in order for that to happen. And sometimes that don't seem to be the most prevalent among today's population. Also, we don't necessarily live in a culture that facilitates that or forces that. As I mentioned before, because media is, for quite some time, has been like feminist. It's been feminist, and it's been from the narrative of the woman for decades now. There's not even a space. There's not space. There's not really any social expectation to do that. Like, it's always the men's fault. It's literally always Jermaine's fault. Which, if you haven't picked up your shirt already, shameless plug. If you have not picked up your shirt of It's Not Jermaine's Fault, y'all can do so. Okay, because y'all got to let people know it's not. But I mean, you're going to be blamed either way. Like, they are going to blame you either way. But if nothing else, y'all can have a shirt and let them know that what time it is. Like, you're not to blame. But that's what I'm saying. It's like part of it, they don't self-reflect because they don't have to. There's no social pressure. There's no institutional pressure, really. Like, it's always Jermaine's fault. Okay, so on this one right here, it says, so Black women can date white men, but Black men can't. We do it better and get better white women. The only easy ones are Black women. I got 8 to 9 hours of mash off buying a hot Black woman and Black and mild. White women are only easy if they are attracted to. I mean, honest, thank you for the 10. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, double standards. I mean, it's like, obviously y'all can do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, as far as the narrative and generally socially, culturally accepted ideas, yeah, it's cool when Black women do it because it's cool when Black women date out. Black women have to date out because Black men are gay or snow bunnied. Whereas when Black men do it, it's because they're self-hating. This has been a narrative that's gone on for a really long time. And I've actually broken down early, in previous videos, why there's also some of this has also been shaped by policy. If we actually understand that a lot of the anti-miscegenation laws or things, they were towards Black men, right? If we think of like the first movie that was shown in the White House, Birth of a Nation, was literally, the plot was about a Black man who was trying to take advantage of a white woman, right? Trying to grape a white woman. Like that's the whole movie is about like kind of stoking fear of Black men who have this like thirst, this insatiable thirst to be with white women and to like take advantage of them and to grape them and abuse them. So it's like that movie, that was literally the first movie shown in the White House. And so many of the laws about anti-miscegenation, they were specifically for Black men. I mean, if you think of even some of the earliest lynchings, the narrative, the stories behind it were always because there was a Black man who, whistled. Emmett Till, right? A Black man who supposedly took advantage of a white woman, and that gave them reason to lynch him. And so I'm saying, like, ingrained in the American history is this. There's this like long history of dissonance, if you will, or this long history of fear and negativity associated with Black men who date white women, going all the way back to the laws, and then some of the movies and some of in the ways that Black women were portrayed when they were with white women. Whereas the other way, shape, or form, like white men have always had sex with Black women. Like they actually came over for that reason. They were shipped over, brought over for that reason, to like procreate and then to work with them and be, unfortunately, their mistress. And so like, also, if you think historically, there is a long sexual history of white men and Black women sleeping together. So the reason I'm saying that is because I think even in the ethos or in the the American consciousness is a level of acceptance for Black women and white men who sleep together because it's been happening for centuries. Whereas there's not as much acceptance with Black men who are with white women, because for literally hundreds of years, it was like not even legal. It was like, and Black men were actually unalived if it happened. It wasn't like that for Black women. Black women didn't have that same risk factor. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just socially, like I think a lot of this was shaped by policy and shaped by cultural narratives about interracial relationship and how it changed based upon the genders. Okay, so wanted to mention that. Okay, so going back to run number 2, social on why are Black men, why more reasons Black men are struggling to trust Black women. I started off by talking about why there's no political trust, right? Now we're talking about why there's double standards. I just showed y'all a video. This is a clip of almost 25 years ago for Geelick, literally the exact same situation. But what I want to do now is show you guys some examples of things that have happened within the last, few years. Here's a video that I did. I did this video almost a year ago. And it just has some examples of pro-Black swirlers. That is women who claim to be Black and about Black people and Black causes, but are dating white men, but then also at the same time have negative things to say about Black men who date out. So I'm just going to play some of it because I know some of you guys some of you may have seen it, some of you guys may not have seen it, but I'm just going to replay it because there's some examples in here that I think are relevant to this conversation. Wait, actually, sorry guys, let me pull this up because I got to share this so you guys can actually see. I was playing it and it wasn't coming up. Yeah, so like I said, this is a video I did maybe about a year ago, but it's still it has some examples in here I want to share with you guys that I think are relevant.
But to save my community, we have to make bunny hopping a federal offense. Bunny hopping must become a federal offense. Those brothers are an embarrassment.
Hey, where are the white women at?
Women are generally suckers for a good love story, but nothing seems to garner as much interest and intrigue as an interracial love story. And I saw this post go viral on X, formerly known as Twitter, of this couple. They seem to be a pretty popular influencer couple. And I saw this couple go viral on X, formerly known as Twitter, called Brendan and Ashley. And you know what? They're actually quite popular. They have 1 million followers on TikTok currently. And, you know, all of their content is about taking love seriously. So they have a lot of dates that they're posting, little different, you know, romantic ideas. This one in particular got a lot of interest because you see him doing the hair of his wife. And it just so happens to be that this is a white man doing the hair of a black woman, something that's very taboo. Now, I know seeing a white man doing a black woman's hair is very taboo, especially considering the cultural context and especially considering today's climate. But my personal thoughts are, look, it's not my job.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you.
Ads somebody else wants to do with their husband. That's between them and their partner. Now, obviously, whenever you put your stuff online and you create TikTok accounts and you create whole social media presence about your own relationship, people are going to talk about it. Now, I personally am not trying to put my most intimate details of my relationship online. That's something that I just do not think is a good idea. But if that's what somebody else wants to do, fine. I also think it's good to just reiterate that a black person, especially who decides to get in an interracial relationship, just needs to know that they're going to lose a certain level of clout or a certain level of influence within the black community. Some people don't really care. It's not a big deal. But if you're a person who believes in wanting to try to improve or build the black community in any capacity, it's going to be hard for you to really have a certain level of support as long as you are dating and marry out. It don't matter how much money, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how good. You just know that just the very nature of you dating out means that there's going to be certain people in the community who just aren't going to rock with you or are not going to consider you a leader. And like I said, for some people, that's not a big deal. You're not over here trying to save the black community. You're not over here trying to build a better reality. And if that's not you, cool. But if it is, then just understanding that making that decision might make it really hard for you. But outside of that, most black women weren't really tripping like that. Most of them were just happy in the comment section. In fact, you saw many of them who were inspired and had a lot of positive things to say about this entire interaction. I mean, look at some of the tweets. And so all in all, nobody saw anything wrong with this. They overall thought it was cute. They thought it was romantic. They thought, hey, you see a black woman being treated nice. She's living her best life. They're living their best life. No problem here. But now I want to turn your attention to something else.
How do you feel about interracial?
White women, if they date a black man, dead wrong. But if a black woman find her a rich white man, right on, sister. Black power.
I love interracial couples. That's why I'm here. What do you think about interracial relationships?
It's okay for like a black girl to mess with a white guy, but not the same thing for a black guy to mess with a white girl. When black girls do it because they genuinely like them, and I feel like when black boys do it, it's just because they comparing them to black people.
When black girls mess with white guys, it's because like, oh, they're like a nice guy, this and this. But whenever it's a white girl, oh, I like to know bunnies, like it's a fetish.
They be like, I like white girls because black girls can't do this.
When black girls like white boys, it's genuine.
That part.
So did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? So nobody had anything negative to say when you had the black woman out there with her white man doing the hair. Ain't nobody had nothing negative to say. The ladies was loving it. But don't have a black man be with a white woman. Now all of a sudden she's self-hating. Now all of a sudden, you know, he don't like his mama. Now all of a sudden he's going out of his way to try to disrespect black women. I'm gonna replay that part real quick. I'm gonna slow it down just a little bit because I think I have it on a normal. Okay, let me say on those ad blockers. Listen, I can't do it because I'm doing this through like my page. Like it literally does not allow me to do ad blockers. I've tried it. I have ad blockers on my personal YouTube, but like because this is on my, I don't know how Chrome be kind of crazy, but because this is on my YouTube business page or whatever, like it doesn't allow me to do the ad blocker. So I'm just enjoying the little AdSense I get when I replay this. Okay, so I want to circle back real quick because we went through how you had this black woman out there who went viral for her white husband doing her hair. And these ladies loving it. Oh, well, she get a white guy that does two strands twist, right? The ladies was loving it. Ladies was cool with it. But now all of a sudden you got a black man who with a white woman and the narrative treated nice. She's living her best life. They're living their best life. No problem here. But now I want to turn your attention to something else.
How do you feel about interracial?
White women, if they date a black man, dead wrong. But if a black woman find her a rich white man, right on, sister. Black power.
I love interracial couples. That's why I'm here.
What do you think about interracial relationships?
It's okay for like a black girl to mess with a white guy, but not the same thing for a black guy to mess with a white girl. When black girls do it because they genuinely like them, and I feel like when black boys do it, it's just because they comparing them to black people.
When black girls mess with white guys, it's because like, oh, they're like a nice guy, this and this. But whenever it's a white girl, oh, I like to know bunnies, like it's a fetish.
They be like, I like white girls because black girls can't do this.
When black girls like white boys, it's genuine.
That part.
I want you to notice how the narrative changes when the gender changes. We see how there's overall very positive and affirming sentiments when there's a black woman who decides to date and marry out, especially if it seems like they're having just a loving relationship. But usually the same consideration is not applied when a black man dates out.
I want the Supreme Court to reconsider
their decision in Loving versus Virginia. I want it to be illegal again for Black men to marry snow bunnies.
That there is a double standard when it comes to dating and mating, dating and mating expectations, dating and mating preferences, and also standards. And I think if the understanding is that every single time a Black man dates out, he hates his mother and he's harming the Black community, why isn't the same level of scrutiny being given to Black women?
Okay,
and if we want,
so y'all gotta send this was a video I did about a year ago. I mean, I literally got a whole playlist. Okay, I got a whole playlist of the divested disasters, swirler sagas, and just interracial relationships, and really the dialogue around it. You know, calling out double standards, calling out some challenges, and just different conversations in general that are relevant. But my point is, going back to the second reason as to why Black men are struggling to trust Black women, it's because there are obvious double standards when it comes to dating, mating, and ultimately just in general what's to be expected. I just mentioned interracial relationships, but the double standards can also apply when it comes to financial desires, what makes somebody marriageable, what makes somebody ready. Like the double standards can really, really encompass quite a few things. But that is a second reason I believe, honestly, that there are men who are Black American men specifically, who are having challenges with Black American women because they're like, y'all are hypocrites. Y'all are hypocrites. You're not being consistent. You're not being consistent. Double standards. Now, the last point that I want to show you as to why I also believe that there are, again, Black men who are having a hard time trusting Black women goes down to misandry. And I want to show you guys an example of a video. I actually just shared this video early in the week. But I want to respond to it again because I got some really interesting feedback that I thought was worth engaging with. And I also want to point out or acknowledge this kind of content that I see getting more and more traction today, right? So now I'm going to turn your attention to, this is a video that a clip from a content creator. She's very, 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 very popular on TikTok. I shared some of her content earlier today.
I know the rumors around town.
I shared her basically going out of her way to praise her Black husband. I'm going to play this again real quick. I think it's about just a little over a minute, but I'm going to play this and I'm going to unpack why actually I've again heard many of you guys take offense and basically be offended by what was supposed to be a affirming message to Black men, right? And so now I'm going to the third reason why I've seen Black men say that they struggle to trust Black women. The third reason I would say is misandry. I'm going to play this and then I'm going to explain to you exactly why this can come off as misandrist and disrespectful.
I know the rumors around town that Black men are not up to par with the rest of the men in the world, but I just got to flex with my Black husband for a moment. My husband pays all the bills. My husband has always paid all the bills since I was literally 17 years old. Everything. Not only does he pay all the bills, he gives me money to splurge with. I have my own credit card. He takes me shopping. He buys all the groceries. I cook, I clean, but that's part don't even matter. Let me just flex on how I have a really good husband, a really good job. He helps me with the kids. He helped me around the house. He's just an all-around good guy. And the crazy thing is, y'all sit on this app like Black men don't be manning, and it's not all of them. My husband goes to work and comes home to his family. Like, you don't know how much of a flex that is to be married, under 31, coming home to your family, being a family man, being a Black man, and treating your woman like a queen. Oh, baby. Yeah, my husband is a high value man, and it's not even just money. It's just his morals, his values, the way he was raised, everything about him just eats down.
Okay, so this was a video that I shared I shared this video, early this week. And listen, I'll share with you guys be very candid in my thoughts, right? I saw this content creator on my feed, gosh, maybe last year. And, I'm like, hey, you have I saw a dark-skinned Black woman dressed in nice, she was dressed nice. I didn't see her twerking, doing nothing crazy. She had a Black family. I was like, okay, she looks cute. She has a family. She's, living well. Like, I'm a follower, right? Because I like to see Black women doing well, especially in today's climate where it seems like I'm always seeing a Black woman go viral for doing something stupid. If I see a woman looking classy, looking like she got her stuff together, I'm going to follow her, right? And I'm always going out of my way to try to promote things or share things if I see somebody doing something positive or trying to say something affirming about Black men, right? That's just my perspective, partially because I just get tired of seeing the same nasty stuff. So I'm like, she looks, pretty Black woman. She dresses nice. She got a Black family. Okay. And she goes out of her way to try to say something nice about her husband. Cool. Post it. Keep it pushing. Now, I will notice, like when I first heard that video that I just showed you, I noticed that there was a big emphasis on the amount of money and stuff that he was paying on her, but I didn't really think much about it. I was like, look, I'm just trying to get this video out. Let me keep it pushing. But what got to me was when I started to listen to you guys. That is what really started getting to me, was when I started listening to your guys's, listen to what you guys had to say about her, giving props to her husband. And here's the thing about it. We're going into the third reason and why Black men don't necessarily like Black women or don't trust Black women, right? And I would say misandry. And when I say misandry, I want to be specific. We live in a culture where men are seen more they're like considered walking ATMs. When it comes to relationship standards and when it comes to the value of a man, men are judged by the amount of money that they make and the amount of social accolades or accomplishments that they've done. That is how they are valued in this hyper-capitalistic, if you will, dating market, by the amount of money that they have and by the amount of things that they have accomplished. That's how they are judged and valued in the relationship market. Now, the problem with that is that it completely removes the humanity of men. Like, we forget that they're not walking ATMs, or they're not things that are, just literally here just to pay the bills of other women. Like, they actually have a purpose, they have vision, they have feelings, they have their own belief sentiments. Like, they're living souls, just like women. But so often the value of men is oftentimes, it is nullified to him strictly being the amount of money that he can produce or the amount of money that he has at that given moment. And the challenge is, even when I look at these pages, these different social media accounts that are trying to push for more traditional lifestyles, or like the content creator I showed you, she's doing the housewife, the soft girl glam housewife thing, right? So that's kind of that's her image. That's what she's promoting on her channel. So even in some of the relationship sectors where you have Black women who are pushing for more traditional setup, where the man's paying for all the bills and she's at home, cooking and cleaning and doing whatever, the emphasis always becomes the money. Anytime that they're bragging about who their husband is, it's always the amount of money that he's doing. Like that video that I just showed you, much of the feedback, and I'm going to actually show it, much of the negative feedback that I got from you guys was the let me see. Much of the negativity I got was you guys calling out the fact that the only thing she mentioned was the amount of money the dude made. I think at the very end, she's like, oh, he also has good morals. But out of that, a minute and 30-second clip, she spent a minute and probably 15 seconds talking about how he pays all the bills, how she's been paying her bills since she was 17, how he gives her a credit card, allows her to shop, and he works really hard and gives her a nice life. And not only does he pay the bills, he also comes home and he helps with the kids, and he also helps with cleaning, but he pays all the bills. So it was like, you guys who are listening to this, you're just like, wait, I thought you're talking to us about the value of your husband. Why are you always bringing up his bank account? Like, why is the only thing you're bringing up the amount of money that he has? And the primary issue that I see with today's dating market, and I actually would argue why there's so few relationship success, is because it's all about the money. Because there's such an emphasis right now on men just giving money to women, as if that is their only value, to like be walking ATMs and to provide women a lavish lifestyle. And if they can't do that, then they don't have any value. And that video I just showed a few days ago of the single mom of two who talked about how she's not marrying a man unless she can pay all his bills. Like, there's no reason to do it. It's like you have women out here today who literally don't think that there's any value of a man outside of his ability to improve her lifestyle. And when I say improved, I mean to improve her lifestyle financially, fiscally, giving her a bigger house, a bigger car, more vacations, better clothes. And the reason I say misandry is because there is no understanding of the value of masculinity. Like, women don't understand that like there's a value, there is intrinsic value to masculinity that has nothing to do with monetary value. It has nothing to do with the amount of money a man actually makes. Like, they don't understand that. Women actually think that to be a man is to actually make all this money, and not even make all this money, to make and then give all of this money to her. And unfortunately, if you're with a woman who only sees your value associated with the amount of money you can give her, that's not real respect. At best, that's a prostitution, or at best, that's maybe some form of a business deal. But there's no respect in that relationship, because God forbid you lose the job. God forbid you lose the job. God forbid, you're out, maybe, I don't know if you work hours, your hours are cut. If you're, you own a business and you have a year, or you go through some quarters that are rough, because it happens. You can be a successful business owner, but you still have ups and downs. God forbid you get sick. Maybe you need to take a little bit of time off. Maybe you need to take time off and get well, and you might need some help, financially or physically from your wife or whatever. Or you're at a place where you're just still building. And you're not able to fully take care of her. But I'm just like, God forbid life happens and you're not able to give this woman the fairy tale fantasy Disney lifestyle. So does the love end? Does your value as a man just go out the door because you can no longer provide her Gucci bags or take her on vacation every quarter? So the reason I'm saying this is because even when we look at relationships, if we were to look at a relationship between what would be considered a traditional man with a traditional woman in a traditional setup, and they're living the nice life, it's still about money. Like I said, and now I'm using this example just because I shared with her earlier, and she's a very popular content creator, and she has some cute stuff. She talks about getting the makeup and the bags, and her whole thing is like femininity. Her whole thing is a luxury life. So she kind of promotes the soft life, but with the Black girl aesthetic. So she's doing the whole soft girl thing, but with a Black husband. And listen, I'm not mad at it. He allows her to do it. It's whatever. So you see her in these department stores with these big bags. You see her at these nice lunches, the luxury hair spa. So it's all about luxury. It's all about the elevated life. But I'm like, even in these instances, which I don't have a problem with a man and his wife, living nice. I see nothing wrong with that. But just my point is, if you're as a woman and you're in that kind of setup, and the only thing positive you can say about your husband is how he pays all your bills and all the money he gives you, that's misandry. Because you're not valuing the man as a human. And I understand this content creator, I think in general, she promotes a particular brand. So I understand her followers want to see certain things. So her followers want to hear, how is she getting this lifestyle? So I understand for her, some of this is probably just her appealing to her audience. But I'm just saying in general, I'm using this more as an example. You guys expressed to me why you actually were offended. Some of you guys were offended by some of the things that you said. Actually, let me bring up those comments. And it goes down to what I said earlier. Like, if the value that you give to a man, the value that you give to a man that you're in a relationship with, if it's the fact that he can pay your bills, And that's it. Like, oh, I love him because he can pay my bills, because he took me to this nice vacation, because I ain't got to work, because he bought me this Gucci bag. It's like, you're literally looking at him as like an ATM. That's not genuine love, because if the money dries out, does the love dry out? So let me look at some of these comments. Now this one was just from a married woman. She says, a married woman, she's a red flag. She wasn't praising her husband. She was praising that wallet. Exactly. When I talk about my husband, I highlight his character, his education, his wild sense of humor, his work ethic, and how possessive and obsessive he is over me. She only talked about how her husband pays for everything. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And a lot of you guys noted that. You're like, wait, so you're praising your husband for being a high value man, but the only thing you can talk about is the amount of money he has. Huh? Like, what? What are you talking about? This one right here says, Black women who speak like this are saying this. A good Black man is a Black man that pays for me to be happy with him. I shouldn't be laughing, but he's like, listen, if you pay the price, if you're willing to pay for me to be here, then I'll stay. This one here says, she affirmed his value as a wallet and disrespected the majority of Black men. Just leave these women alone, Black men. That's right. So y'all, some of y'all was like having this one says here, when things are good, everyone is happy. Let him lose his job. Let's see how she treats him then. Right. So like I said, you guys caught on to that. You're like, this is fake. You're praising my ability to pay some bills. Or more specifically, you're praising me based upon the amount of money I'm giving you. But that's no different than a prostitute. Like, what's different between that and a relationship that you'd have with a prostitute? It's not like marriage is not just paid prostitution. It's that's not what it is. Like there is inherent intrinsic value to a man that goes beyond his wallet, his character, his vision, his work ethic, just who he is, his personality, his drive, you know what I mean? His leadership. Men provide leadership and guidance. Men provide leadership and guidance inherently. That's who they are, especially in families. That's who God made men to be in families, to be leaders. And so a part of that means they have key insight. They have key insight and wisdom into things that women may not even consider, that might go over their head. So it's like there are attributes to masculinity that go far beyond how much money a man can make. But unfortunately, if we look at men as, here's the wallet here is their wallet, and here's the amount of money that they can give me, and based upon that amount of money they can give me is based upon the amount of love I'll give him, then it's like, that's actually misandry. Because if we flip the genders, the equivalent would be like a man who went online and talked about how his woman got big breast, and he loves how she got big breasts, that she just hangs out all the time, and how she goes around in stilettos cooking him food, 3 meals a day, and never talks back, and is always bent over whenever he needs her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to keep it PG, but I'm trying to articulate a version. Like, imagine a content creator that got almost I think 800,000 followers, who talked about how big breasted his woman was, and how she loves his wife because he has sex with her whenever he wants, and she stays quiet all the time and is always cooking him food and doesn't say anything. You know what I mean? Like a man going on long praising a woman for being curvy, for being quiet and silent, and just for like, you know what I mean? Y'all understand what I'm saying? Like, so I'm saying, like, that would be the equivalent. The equivalent would be a man who went online and started to praise his woman for her body parts and her looks, and how willing she was to cook for him and have sex with him, and then be like, this is why I love my wife. Every woman who heard that would say that he was a misogynist prick. Every woman who heard that. If they saw a man go online and praise his wife for being, thick, curvy, slim, thick, for cooking for him all the time, and for always being quiet when he needs her to, they would hate on him. They would try to get that account taken down. That I'm trying to articulate, like, what would be the equivalent. That would be the equivalent. But somehow somehow a woman could come on and talk and spend the whole time praising her man because of her wallet, but nobody see that as a problem. So I'm going back to why, from what I've observed, there are so many reasons that men today are struggling to trust Black women. If somebody else said, I ain't struggling, I just don't trust them. So you're just like, oh, it's not even a struggle. It's just is what it is. I'm just trying to articulate to you some of the different issues that I've seen that seem to go unaddressed. That I think there's many Black women out there who aren't even necessarily aware of it. They may just be completely blind or apathetic too. Right? Some of them may just be a lack of genuine desire or care. But nevertheless, like, it's for real. It's like the misandry is there. And equating a man's value to his wallet is misandry. It is. Now, listen, some men may be cool with it, because some men will judge other men by their accomplishments and value too, right? Like, some men will be like, this is just a part of it. This is the game. It's whatever. But I think in general, seeing your person's value as exclusively tied to how big or heavy their wallet is that is misandry. It really is. And it took some of you guys, I think, really seeing some of your comments and seeing your feedback really helped reinforce. This one here says money, money, money. Money, money, money. You know? So, yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to show that example. Again, like I said, she was a content creator, and there's some cute stuff that she posts on her thing. I know she's all about, that particular page is all about just trying to promote luxury, the soft life for Black girls with a Black husband. And I'm like, listen, I'm not mad at a Black family doing well and doing luxury things, but we can't look at the messaging and being like, okay, so is this actually really helpful, or is this helpful, or are we just promoting misandry at this point? Are we just promoting a message that doesn't necessarily lead to long-lasting results? Because let's just be honest. Most Black women are not going to be with Black women who can pay all their bills. They're not. Most Black women in America are not going to have the ability to be with a man who can pay all their bills. They're not. It's just not going to happen. Now, what would probably be the best bet is if a woman gets with a man and then they build towards that, or she, works with him, or whatever. Like they find a setup that works for them. Like that's the most likely. The most likely is a woman finding a man on her level, and then they living a happy life within the means, within what works for them. But the majority of women in America are not going to be able to find a man who can pay all of their bills and be monogamous, right? And still be there for her emotionally and spiritually when she needs it, and present all the time. That's just literally, there's literally not even enough men for that. The economy wouldn't even allow for that. So it's like, we can throw that out the door. And here's the thing about it. How many women are with men who pay all the bills, who they go online? Because here's another thing that women do. And here's another reason why some ladies like to promote the soft life. Because when women can show other women that all their bills are being paid and that a man is giving them a luxurious lifestyle, they can be seen as more valuable in the eyes of other women that they're trying to show off to. So some women like to show off the hypergamy, the soft life thing, because it makes them appear more valuable or more desirable or more high value to the woman that they're trying to impress. It has nothing to do with the lifestyle that her and her husband or her and a man have created. It has nothing to do with finding a lifestyle that works for them. It has everything to do with how much social validation can they get from the women that they want to impress. And I'm saying that because there are so many accounts out there that I follow where the whole reason this woman was running this account is because she wants to show off the amount of money that her man or husband is giving her. Oh, look at this car he gave me. Hashtag we're going to vacation. Hashtag look at this luxury life. Hashtag oh, look what we like. They want to show off. They want to be able to show off how much money their man gives them, because that makes them seem more valuable. But like I said, that's not about love, and it's not about a relationship. It's not about none of that. That is about that woman's ego being fed. It really is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying that you guys aren't here. There are plenty of men who would love they have the ability, the capacity. They wouldn't mind paying all the bills to their women. Like, that's not an issue. Here's the other thing too. Like, a lot of men I know they don't even really care. Like, it's the money is not the issue. They just want to know that they're respected and loved. Primarily respected, because for most men, like, respect is love. You know what I mean? But it's like they just want to know that they're respected, that their vision, that their leadership is valued, and that they're not going to be stepped on. But if you have that, if you're a woman and you bring that, like, they don't care. They don't mind paying all the bills. It's like, whatever. It's not like a big deal, because a lot of men are kind of like programmed, whether it's socially, whether it's biological, who knows? But I'm like, they are already like, that idea is not surprising to them. So, yeah. So, okay. So this one went a little longer than I anticipated, but I wanted to share some of the different things, some of the three different reasons that I've seen this happening. Now, real quick, I think I saw some more super chats come through. Let me see. It says, it says, but Black women are the ones to talk about that, not Black men. Okay, you're referring to interracial relationships. Yeah. Yeah. With social media, I think we are starting to see more Black men push back. But for a long time, folks didn't really care. They did not care at all. It was just like, okay, she's with a white man. This is nothing new. Water under a bridge. I don't think it really became an issue until you started to see the double standards. And then now, because you have social media and we have platforms where people can share their opinion, then it's like, okay, we're going to see her and call it these double standards. Shout out to you, St. C with the $4.99. It says, when Umar says bunny hopping, he only means white woman. My fellow rice bunny and arrows bunny loving brethren, we are in the clear from Umar's wrath. Oh gosh. I would not try to listen. I'm not going to try to speak for Dr. Umar. I just think he's a meme. He's just a whole meme. I'm just going to leave it at that. This one right here says, the no reach back era happening on this socio-political climate is almost like poetic justice. Password Bros was like the icing on the cake crazy. Are they coming? Okay, yes. Password Bros, I mean, they're not going anywhere. I remember all the ire and the hate Password Bros got a few years back. I'm wondering if that's going to be coming back soon. We'll see. But thank you so much for the 5 on the super chat. I appreciate you. So anyways, yeah. So, I mean, that's, you guys, those are really for today, the main 3 things that I wanted to mention regarding why Black men are struggling to trust Black women. I'm sure there are more reasons. You guys can let me know in the comment section. You guys can let me know what you think. But from what I've observed, after having conversations with you guys, seeing some of your feedback, listening, hearing, conversating, the primary, or I won't say primary, some top reasons, again, that Black men are struggling to trust Black women is, I mentioned before, there's no trust politically, or there's very little trust politically. I showed you guys the examples. If you look at the thumbnail, Sabby Sabs, Candance Owens, Michelle Obama, and some of you guys may even like these candidates, or the candidates. You may even like these individuals. You may like their point of view. You may agree with them. But you have, like I said, Sabby Sabs, Candance Owens with the white husband. Many of you guys are just like, I can't rock with that. I don't care how many Black issues you speak on or Black issues you claim to advocate for. I can't rock with you if you are with a white husband, because you're with a white man, because you're not even going home with a Black man. You're not even creating a Black family, so I can't take you seriously. Some of you guys believe that way. Then obviously, even in the case of like Michelle Obama, who has a Black family, if you see disrespect, if you see what seems like consistent and open disrespect towards the Black man or the Black husband, y'all are going to be like, I also can't trust you because you don't even like Black men, right? And so again, I touched upon that. You guys can go back and check the examples. I provided some examples for you guys. Secondly, we talked about double standards. I showed some examples for you guys there on also why some of y'all are not trusting Black women. And you're like, there's double standards when it comes to relationships. And this, there's a lot to unpack here. I just talked about double standards with respect to dating out. But the double standards they can go into, monetary standards, what makes somebody marriageable, what makes somebody marriage ready or relationship ready, all of that. And then also, we talked about misandry, and we talked about how there is a level of misandry that goes unaddressed. And so here are some main reasons that I believe that men are having just a hard time. Are they just struggling to trust Black women? Or they just strictly don't. They just strictly don't trust them. What's going on, Carl for president? Good to see you. You in that comment. I cannot. Yes. So those are some main reasons. Now, there's this question of, well, what would fix this? What would make this better? Is it possible to make this better? Obviously, you have some men who are just over it completely. I mean, the men who are over it completely, like, are really not even. They're so uninterested. Like, they're not even here. They're in Thailand, right? If they're into Asian women, or maybe they're in the diaspora somewhere. They're in Africa. I mentioned, one of you guys mentioned going to Ethiopia to find your wife or to get a wife. I've seen things of that. You guys still want black women. You just want black women with different culture. Some of y'all do monk mode. Some of y'all are just, right. But I'm just saying, it's like, there's men out there who, like, they're past the point of no return. You just gonna let them do their thing. Like, they're chilling. They're not even interested. And I'm like, to me, that is the truest definition of I don't care. The truest definition of I'm over it is, like, not even being engaged. When a person has gotten to a point of apathy, that's when it's like, yeah, they're pretty far down the road there. I see some of you guys Philippines. Okay, Philippines. Right. One of my cousins is married a Filipino. So you have that. Now, I know there are some of you guys who are, like, legit. You still want a black woman. You still would love to be with the black. Well, some of you guys would love to be with the black American woman. Right? Some of you guys are just like, I would still love to be with a woman in my culture. I personally don't believe it's completely impossible that, like, all black American women are just polluted and out there twerking on graves and babies and, over here swirling and doing everything. Like, like, they're not all like that. But I understand that it is a very difficult market. And my thing is, I always believe this first step towards anything is acknowledgement. It's an acknowledgement. Right? So, like, for any woman, this is what I tell for women, especially those who are having hard times in relationships. Any woman who's having a hard time in relationships, feels like they're struggling, doesn't understand, and they recognize that they have believed some things about black women that are not true. They recognize that they have some misandry, or they recognize that there's some propaganda. Like, there's something really beautiful about acknowledgement. There's something super beautiful about being like, dang, you know what? I just believed a lie. Or, dang, you know what? I was over here believing some funk. Like I mentioned before, listen, the whole sisterhood, black men are gay, snow bunnied, and I believe that. There is a good portion of my life where I actually believe that. I also believe that black men didn't like natural hair. Like many of the things that I now today actually adamantly go against are the very things that I believed, that I absolutely believed. I thought were just the gospel truth. And it wasn't until I knew better that I actually found out more information, was challenged, or discovered that a lot of the stuff was BS, that my perspective changed. And I was like, dang, that wasn't true at all. I just was straight lied to, or that was just some propaganda. So I'm saying many of these things, again, that I believed, they were lies. But now I don't believe it anymore. Now I could look and say, no, I don't believe that all black men are gay, snow moneyed in prison. I don't believe that. I don't believe that is inherently why black love, black marriages, black families are. I don't inherently believe it's all Jermaine's fault. So I'm saying, like, I'm an example of a person who actually believed that stuff and then changed because I got new information and then I realized that there was more to it. I mentioned before how too there was a good portion of my life where I felt like I had a really difficult time with relationships, and it wasn't necessarily that, like, I was like, there was so many situationships. It was just me growing up in church and all. There's a whole history there, right? Unfortunately, in church sometimes you can get not always some good teaching too if you don't go to the right church, right? But what I'm trying to articulate to you is, like, I'm an example of a person who believed some wrong things and had some behaviors that actually weren't helpful or healthy for me. And then once I got new information and was willing to do the work and acknowledge that there were things that I was doing that was wrong, then I was able to change and meet my husband. And then actually take on some new ideas and beliefs and learn and understand, and then gain more empathy and understand. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning today. I'm not perfect. There's still things that I'm constantly trying to improve on. But my point is, like, there's always room for change and growth if somebody wants to do that. If somebody wants to acknowledge that they're not, sugar, honey, iced tea, and that they themselves can do wrong. So I always advocate for women to before they're so quick to point the finger at how all the ways in which Black men aren't showing up, to really honestly examine their own life and see if there are actively things they're doing in their own life to actually change that. Now that's more of an individualistic thing. But that's something that I advocate for. Now, some of the stuff I recognize, you're talking generations of programming. And I think, generations of programming is going to take more than just, okay, you listen to a podcast and everything's different, right? Or you learning a piece of information, everything's different, right? It's deeper than that. Like, there's a deeper unprogramming that needs to happen. There's like a whole rejuvenation and regeneration that will need to happen in the minds and the souls and the spirits of a lot of these ladies, honestly. And I understand a lot of y'all are just like, I ain't got time for that. I gotta go where they're normal. I can't sit around here and wait for the second coming of, of the Messiah to come in here and then change all of these ladies. Like, I can't do that. So I understand. But I will say, I think certainly there's something really powerful about acknowledgement and ladies starting to recognize, like, hey, we can no longer move with the narrative that Black women aren't married because of Black men. We can no longer move with the narrative that the reason Black women are having a hard time in relationships is because of the Black men. At some point, there has to be some acknowledgement that there were some erroneous ideas, beliefs, and behaviors that are happening among Black women too. There's double standards. There's misandry. And there's just genuine disinterest and apathy and disrespect. And until that's addressed on any level, then the conversation continues for another 20, 30, however many years it does. And I can't necessarily say, I have, like I said, the whole blueprint on how to change everything, but I do know that there's something powerful in acknowledgement. And there's also something very powerful about being like, I don't identify with many of these things that are promoted as cultural, as true, as the standard. And that's partially why I'm here. That's partially why I'm here, to be like, okay, as I learn more, I do more, or I do better. As I learn better, then I can do better. As I gain more understanding, then I can share that. As I understand that masculinity isn't just a man pays my bills, I understand that masculinity is far beyond that, then I can start to articulate the things that I'm learning, right? Like, I can say, even in my, my marriage, our pastors, our marriage counselors, they've taught me so much about the value of leadership and the value of trusting my husband's leadership, and trusting even when I don't sometimes maybe agree or understand, the value of just praying and being submissive, and recognizing that submission isn't just necessarily like you being quiet all the time. Sometimes submission is, no, I'm trusting that God has put this man in my life to help lead me in this thing. And that just means that there's certain things that he's going to see that I'm not going to see. That actually means that I come into the acknowledgement that men and women are not the same. It's because in this culture, women are taught to be co-equals, or they're taught to be like co-partners, and they can do everything exactly the way a man can do until they get in relationships and it's like they split everything 50-50. But it's like when you're actually in a marriage and you have legitimate life that you got to navigate and legitimate decisions that need to be made, at some point there has to be a leader. Somebody has to have the final word. Somebody has to be taking responsibility for things. And I've always said this too. Y'all notice in a time of war, ain't nobody trying to be equal. In a time of war, we're not doing this whole 50-50 thing. In a time of war, or when there's devastation, when there's catastrophe, everybody's looking for the men. The first responders, men, many of the times. Now, like I said, you may have nurses and things in hospitals, but I'm just talking about when it comes to there's imminent danger. There is imminent danger. There is warfare. Society is popping off. All these, what is a woman? What is a man? Gender is a social construct. All of that goes out the door. Everybody is looking for the man. They're looking for the men to change stuff. So when stuff gets real, nobody is asking who a man is. They are looking to the men and saying, well, why aren't you fixing it? Why aren't you manning up? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, we just got to acknowledge that. Men and women are not the same. They're not the same. They don't have the same roles. They don't have the same capacity. They don't have the same, and an inability to acknowledge the inherent value of men that goes far beyond their wallet, but acknowledge their leadership, their capacity, their ability, the insight that they provide, the insight that they bring, is also what causes social dissonance. And this is what we have seen. This is what we have seen. This is what we've seen. There's a scripture that talks about how and I've heard some people use it when they talk about it's considered, I don't want to say it's a curse, but yes. Okay, I'm gonna read it. This is Isaiah 3:12 real quick, and I'm gonna brought this up because I thought this was interesting, where it says, "Youth oppress my people, women rule over them. My people, your guide leads you astray. They turn you from the path." And this is a whole idea of like, when you got women exclusively who are ruling over you, there's no male input, there's no male leadership. You are led down a road of destruction. And again, I'm going back to that is not understanding the inherent value of men. Women have inherent value too. There are things that women bring. There's impartation that women elders are supposed to bring to young generations. Like there's a whole beautiful symbiotic relationship between a man and a woman that, when it's in order, creates healthy family and community. Unfortunately, that's been broken down. And as I mentioned before, I think at the very least, if you want to talk about anything being rebuilt or changed or what could do better, there has to at least be an acknowledgement that a lot of the dumb propaganda that we've heard over the last couple of decades, particularly Black women, is false. And there has to be an honest assessment of what's actually going on today. And while we can all acknowledge that there are things that happen within Black men that can be improved, I don't think anyone debates that. There also must be an acknowledgement that there are very many challenges that Black women face that, if they do not face and if they do not acknowledge it, will only aid in their further destruction. Shout out to you. Yeah, shout out to you with the support. My 2 cents. It says, let's see, here it says, okay. Just by saying she's a stay-at-home wife for as long as she has speaks volumes. It explains enough without coming across like did. Generally, men don't mind being used for the right purpose. We just don't want to be misused. Right, exactly. Like I said, I've never really met a man be like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but most men that I know, like masculine men, right, who are secure whatever it is they're doing, like the money to them isn't really an issue. It's not like if they had the money that they wouldn't want to pay it for whatever reason, or if they had the capacity and they had a woman that they loved that they wouldn't mind paying her bill. Like, I don't really know men who care about that stuff. Like, that doesn't really come up as a priority. It's more they just want to make sure that she doesn't become a pariah. You know what I mean? Shout out to you with this is there. I said it with the 5 salute. I appreciate you. Another one here, it says, I would love to be with a Black woman in the USA, but that hope is definitely fading. It's too many of them that's simply not suitable mates. Too many baby mamas, too much lack of accountability, too much. I appreciate you. This is why I started my relationship counseling, partially for this reason, because I do feel as if I meet lovely individuals randomly, and I'm like, there has to be a way to at least connect the lovely individuals to the lovely individuals. Because like, I'll meet one over here, we'll meet over there, one over there. But I will also say too, with some of the different things that I've learned, I'm also starting to understand gain more insight into the challenges that people are facing. I mentioned Gen Zs, right? And seeing how I'm seeing a lot more queer, gender forming, loving, poly-free, polyamorous, poly-safe stuff going on there among the ladies. And I'm like, okay, this is giving me some insight into what the Gen Zs could be going through. Now, also to be clear, I've talked to a lot of people in like colleges, out of more liberal spaces. So I don't want to say that that is the entirety of Gen Z ladies who are going through that. But I'm just trying to draw an example of women do tend to lean more liberal and tend to be more open, I think, to societal change. Whereas I think men just tend to trend toward traditionalism. So this helps me understand what is going on, and then specifically, okay, what is actually needed if there's actually to be change, right? Like, would I advocate for a polyamory, polyqueer, polycurious, same gender loving woman to try to be a housewife? Absolutely no way. It's like you got too many acronyms, too many titles to describe your sexual orientation. Like, you're not even anywhere near close to being that. You know what I mean? So, but I appreciate the sport. You know, here it says, if either of us is gone or broken, it falls apart. Agreed. You said I was away from the lab after I did that. You were good at. Oh, so you're what? Okay, so I was explaining to you how. Yes, I don't know if you remember or not. I was actually planning on doing that in the members only, but what I will say to you too is regarding that situation. If you guys are not aware, I want to answer. He sent in a super chat about the situation that happened between Macron and his wife about looking like he got pimp slapped, but then they tried to come out with the whole PR response, but that looked like a mess. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not like fully abreast on the political climate of France, like what's going on, all the details. I do know there's been some upheaval with some of the immigration and that the empire itself, I think, is suffering some. But nevertheless, right, that situation between literally the leader and him getting pimp slapped from his wife or shoved in the face, it caused a lot of speculation. And what I have seen up to this point, or what I've observed up to this point, is the way that the relationship even started, the way that the relationship between Macron and his wife even started. Had the roles been reversed, honestly, I don't think he would even be in office, because I didn't know that there was such a significant difference in their age, but it is. He's in his 40s, she's in her 70s, and so what I found out when I saw that whole thing was that they met when he was in grade school. She was actually his teacher. Like, he was like a child when she met him. And then in the course of him going into school, they developed some kind of relationship. They never really go into details about it. They could develop some kind of relationship. And this is the article that I read said that he expressed his interest in her. It kind of was inappropriate because of the age thing. And then that's the freaking student. She's a parent and she was married and everything. And so he gets sent off somewhere else. They stay in contact. And then when he gets of age, they marry. So like the way that they got together to me was like, are you kidding me? Like, this literally sounds like this could be in a movie. And more importantly, if the roles were reversed, I don't even know if he would be in office. Like, if he was 70 and we found out he was a teacher and was getting with one of his students, and then, he kind of waited till the student came of age and got married, like he'd actually be considered a pedophile. He would be considered like a pedophile, And I'm not trying to call his wife that, but I'm like, also when I saw that story, I was like, wait, hold up. What? This is so, I still have more to say on that, but I'm just going to say, I don't like speaking against a man and his wife. And I think marriage is sacred. But what I can say definitively is that their love story, had the roles been reversed, he would be considered an abuser. He would also be considered, you said that's a very French love story. I don't know enough about French, but that's what it is then. I don't know about that. Yeah, so she definitely would be considered a pedophile. She would actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word or not in the thing. I'm not sure how it gets kind of weird in YouTube. But she would definitely, if the roles reversed, she would definitely be considered an abuser. Because this is where I want to do a little bit more research, because like I only saw one, I think, or two sources, but I want to see if I can get a verified source as to like the exact timing and be like, okay, did I really just see what I just saw? Because if I really just saw what I just saw, like I'm kind of creeped out. I ain't gonna lie, that I'm creeped out, and the only reason nobody's saying anything is because she's a woman. And also, as far as him getting slapped, shoved in the face, again, the only reason this isn't an issue is because she's a woman. Like I saw women laughing when they saw that. Like women in comments like laughing, like, oh, like, you know, even though that's her husband, you know, like kind of laughing at the fact that like she's still keeping him in place. And so women saw them, they thought that was amazing. I'm not saying this is all, but some of the ones that I saw who responded to that. So yeah, but more to come on that. So, okay. I have a few minutes. If anybody wants to call in. We covered off a lot. We did cover off a lot. For those of you guys who are hopping on now, feel free to go back and check the replay. But if any of you guys would like to share why you believe Black men are struggling to trust Black women, or just strictly don't trust Black women, not even struggling, because some of you guys said that. Or if you have something else to add that you think to this conversation that I've missed. My only request is that you keep it, just keep it like chill. You know what I mean? Like try to keep it respectful. Just keep it respectful. That's my only request. If anybody wants to call in, obviously not a necessity, but I do have a few minutes before I wrap this up. If anyone wants to, so you can feel free to. And I also want to give a special shout out to those of you guys who've shown some love. I really appreciate it. And yeah, as I mentioned, I want to continue to listen and ensure that I'm still learning, because I'm still learning about these things. This is what I've got from just observation, but I'm still learning. You know, I could have gotten some of this wrong myself. So that's what I have. And if not, I can also wrap this up, because I have plenty of other things that I want to finish, but I wanted to give a few of you guys, those of you guys all, especially who donated, a chance to win and chat if you would like to. So I have a few minutes. I'll go on a quick break, and then we can go from, yeah, we can go from there. Okay, so, all right. So I see what's going on, Game Changer. I got you in the back. What's going on? Can you hear me? Okay. So it sounds like we're having some, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. There's a bit of a delay, but I hear you.
Okay. All right. So
Yes,
what do you
I'm here.
have?
Can you hear me?
What do you, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say, I think there's a delay. I'm gonna go and come back.
Okay, no worries. Okay, I see one more in the back. If you wouldn't mind real quickly just flashing so I make sure that you are not a troll. I see one more in the back trying to call in. I have to do this now because I had to block a few people here who were doing weird stuff and saying real stuff. So I just try to make sure that people are like not out here trying to get my stream down, because that does happen. That does happen. Okay, that one looks like it is completely shutting down. Let me see. Okay. Sorry. Okay, guys, it looks like we're running into some technical issues. Here, but we'll bear with me. The question is, leading into, or rather addressing the point of this live on why Black men are struggling to trust Black women, or some of you guys are just not even struggling, why you guys just strictly don't trust Black women. Okay, 2 to 3 seconds. Okay. All right, so let's. Okay. All right, you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're in sync now. That's good. But yes, that is a good question. Why do Black men struggle to trust Black women? I really think that there is a sisterhood of Black women. And what's unfortunate is you have people like Michelle Obama and Rebecca Lynn Pope who feel alone without that sisterhood. They still want to be a part of, the Black women sisterhood, or else you're a woman without a country. So in order to do that, even though they have a happy life, a nice man, a nice husband, a nice family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they will still pretend, they will still behave as if, they are struggling somehow, because the sisterhood is united in the fabricated struggle that they have for themselves. We are all victims of this. And, she wants to get in on the action. So she's like, oh, yes, because I have these problems, the price of dresses by being the first lady is so expensive. That's just her trying to bond with women who have real problems. Because their bond is their struggle with men. Being content with a man makes you out of the sisterhood.
I'm sorry. You can finish.
If you look at the movie Waiting to Exhale, they weren't really friends until they had men trouble at the same time.
Yes.
Angela Bassett was the happy wife of a successful marriage, 11-year Black man. But once things went awry, all of a sudden, here's the sisterhood, and they do their slow motion hug at the end of the movie. You didn't know these chicks before. You just let one woman do your hair, and you didn't even know Layla Rashad. They were not your friends last year. Y'all weren't doing that whole sisterhood hug, but they were binded by content, for Black men.
No, I think there's something to that. It's funny you mentioned that, because actually I was talking to her about one of my friends earlier this week, married Black woman. Now she's a Gen Xer. And she kind of actually mentioned, she didn't say exactly what you said, but she was telling me, she was like, yeah, like, even though I've been married for, X amount of years, I've always tried to keep single friends. And then she kind of went on to explain why. And it kind of does speak to this idea that you had mentioned of still wanting a sisterhood and still wanting that community, even though you have a husband. And here's the thing, it's not that the desire, I don't think, for a community or friendship is wrong inherently as a woman, because I think even when you're married, men, they should still have their friends too. It's just the challenge is we don't necessarily exist in a society that is like family friendly or marriage friendly.
Right.
Particularly for Black women, like this society is very misandrous, anti-male, and anti-family. So it can become very much of a challenge if you are a woman who is happily married to a Black man, or if you're just happily married in general, and then all of your friends are consistently talking about how unhappy they are in relationships and are misandrous, but are not aware that they are misandrous. So that's where I think it becomes really toxic, because of the environment that exists here.
Do you mind if I respond to the chat room right quick?
Yeah, and and then I'm going to bring up, it looks like is it Ken Neil 1 in the back? I can't bring you.
Okay, so Van Vanner said, yeah, Angela Bassett's husband in the movie left her for a white woman. Let me explain why that happened
Mhm.
in the movie Waiting to Exhale. Let me
Yeah,
explain why that
yeah.
happened.
That was on
Yeah.
purpose.
Well, of course it was written that way, but what they overlooked in the writing is he had a justified reason. I'm going to explain this. So when she went on her rampage and she, went to burn all of his stuff, for whatever reason, she kept count of how many times they had sex.
What?
And that count was 671. Now, they've been married for 11 years.
That's crazy.
Which means that they either went at it every day for less than 2 years, or it was really spread apart for those 11 years. It was, and keep in mind, they known each other before they got married. So
Yeah.
the sex life was, they had about 2 years worth in 12 years. He seems like he went 10 years without.
That's insane. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah. And you're dealing with a woman who counts.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm not one, obviously for my spiritual convictions, I'm not one who promotes or necessarily believes in just, divorce just because, like, I think that's something I try to avoid. It's not even like an option for me and my husband, but I do understand that when there's cheating or when there's anything like that, there's never a situation in which there's somebody who is 100% the victim and another person is a villain.
Right.
There's always something to it. Even if the behavior that was done wasn't right, there's always a reason. And if any party isn't able to reckon with that reason, then they may go into another relationship, but find themselves sabotaging that because the reason that the previous relationship didn't work was never addressed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because she thinks it's Jermaine's fault, so she didn't.
Right, it's always Jermaine's fault, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so what do you have, Neil, one on this one on reasons that Black men are struggling to trust Black women?
Okay, first of all, definitely Flowers, the game changer. He always brings the heat. That was a great, excellent point. And you too, Shay, because
thank you.
So beautiful. Anyway, the point is, I think, and this is definitely coming from one of these guys that women talk about. I think I put it in the chat. Literally yesterday, I just got back from the Philippines.
Okay.
And I was just vacationing, but a girl I've been talking to, actually from Thailand, and the girl I've been talking to is from the Philippines, and she was like, all right, I'll fly out. I was like, oh, okay. And we were just hanging out, but it's a different energy. But she made a really excellent point, and it's been brought up more and more recently. What Black women and these influencers are saying is online. It's around the world. All these other women are listening to what y'all are saying and saying about them. Like the girl I'm talking to in the Philippines, she comes from a province, but she has a graduate degree. She works for an international Dutch company.
Okay.
So she makes quite well off.
Okay.
In her country, but she hears what women are saying, what U.S. women are saying about them. Oh, they're poor, they're broke, they just want money. And she's like, I'm farthest from that. Or I've talked to a few white women that I work with, because I work and you make friends with people, and a couple of them mainly date Black men. And I'll ask them straight up, which a few Black women, I've seen streamers who've asked white women this, and they're like, we are heaping all this praise for white men. Don't you think these white women are also looking for good white men? I mean, statistically, everyone dates within their ethnicity.
Right.
So you heaping all these praise. Well, now we're going to look at your men. And she even laughed at the fact that she would hang out with her Black woman friend and she would talk all this positivity and wanting a Black man and generational wealth. And she's curving all these men. And they're like, wait a minute, that guy, I know that guy is well off. You just curved him. Like, I'm gonna go talk to him if you're not. So the other thing about the trust is that we're getting justification from all these non-Black women. Like, yeah, these Black women are crazy. Like, what are they talking about? Like, it's making no sense.
Oh, that's No, I want to make sure I understand. So you're saying just in your experience as you're traveling abroad and you were interacting with people, with women of other ethnicities, other cultures, and they're telling you what they're hearing come out of Black American women sounds insane. Like they're telling you that, like, yeah, I saw this video, I thought this was crazy.
Combine that with, again, I hate to say that, is that, you know, the portrayal of Black women isn't good.
It's horrible.
Combined with their interactions with Black men, and kind of like even with the same thing with, like, you know, I forget her name. She's a nice lady, the German lady that talks about her experiences. Like her background and interest originally came from like Black music, but then when she met Black men, it was like, oh, that just made it reinforcing even more of her wanting a Black man. That was kind of what I've been running into. A lot of women, these international or other non-Black women, they have their whatever preconceived notions, but then when they meet us, they're like, whoa, okay, these guys are really genuine guys for the most part.
Right.
Not to say that there isn't any bad ones, but yeah, there are some genuine guys. And then you meet Black women and it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's kind of the point I think also isn't talked about the level of trust, where we're like, we're starting to talk more, especially after Kevin Samuels, and we're starting to speak more on it, because yeah, I think I even posted it in the chat. I'm more purple pill. I always will have hope for my sisters and everything else. But man, there are so many forces, and I think, so many negative forces that are intentionally trying to keep us separated. And
yes. And to your point, the reason I think those forces are so strong is because there's not an acknowledgement of it.
Correct. Because I'm in IT. I'm in IT, and my background, part of my background is in security.
Okay.
Oh no, I know for a fact there are certain countries that have internet-based cyber teams that have dossiers on how to push and pull people online with surgical control.
Okay.
Knowing how to feed different narratives they want on purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
You bring up an excellent point about how international women view Black women, and you say it's largely because of how Black women present themselves online. I definitely agree with that. I've seen that in my travels too. Black women are kind of mocked and mimicked. I thought that it was because of an influx of men that are traveling to meet international women, but you know, the culture does exist. And one thing I've come to notice about Black women, Black Americans women's dating strategy is they struggle in seducing men that are not completely desperate and thirsty. So when you mention the situation about, you know, your white friend and the Black woman, you know, yeah, she may have seen him as a good man, but if she don't think that he has desperate yet, she's going to wait until he is. Now, the white woman being interested in him puts a wrench in that plan, of course, because it's like, oh, wait a minute, if you know, he gets with her, he won't be thirsty, and then, you know, but yeah, that's the whole plan, is to wait the men out. And, you know, then when he's desperate, we can treat him like Dr. Boyce Watkins or something. Like, this is what we can do. Now, this, unfortunately for them, requires complete and total loyalty to them. If we could look back at the scene from Ricky Lake that Shay Sade showed us, you know, it showed us a younger Black man who said straight out, I get rejected by Black women. Well, that's because he's young. Yeah, exactly. And that went overlooked by both Ricky Lake and his sister. You know, I get rejected by Black women. So, I mean, after that, the conversation would end. It's like, that's the only logical choice, is to go where you're tolerated, you know, or go where you're appreciated, not tolerated. So, but, you know, they continue to talk about it. And then the other guy comes in and, you know, he's like, oh, I'm loyal. I got 10 sisters and I'm loyal. It's like, all right, but you're not married, are you? You're single. Like, what did that loyalty get you? You know, what did you get in return? And what they're hoping for is, okay, he remained loyal, and eventually he's going to get tired of being alone, so he'll compromise. And what does that compromise look like? It looks like a fat woman with a wig. And that is what they're waiting for. They're waiting for you to diminish your standards to fatness. Shay Sade did a montage on that where the women were saying, these men are, fat women get pretty privilege. This, fat women are getting pretty privilege, something to that effect. That's because they're using this technique. They're trying to make black men desperate as possible, so they'll take anything, and many are.
Well, I think there are just, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm not a black man, right? But I think that there are black men out there who are just like, I know some who just prefer heavier women.
Okay,
I'm not saying that's all, but like, I think that really happens. Like, there are black dudes out there who they really don't care. Like, they like them a little thick or curvy.
Oh yeah.
No, I understand that. However, there are black women out there that like homeless men. It's not a significant amount to really push the needle like that. Most black men who are with overweight women are fat women are settling. They're settling because fat women are better than no women at all.
Well, the other point, and this probably goes to like, yeah, I'm not in perfect shape, but I'm working on myself. Like, I work out 6 times a week, 6 times in a week, 6 times a week. But my last girlfriend, black woman, was not in perfect shape, but she was working toward it. So it's like, yeah, I'm open to accepting a heavier set woman if, yeah, she's open to being her best version, because I'm trying to be that for her. So
she's not open to being her best version. Let me ask you something. How long ago was it since you last dated her?
Oh man, it's been probably over a year now.
Is she still fat?
I don't know. I don't think about her. Ever since I started dating this new girl, I haven't thought about that.
Did she shrink any in the time that you two were together?
No.
Yeah, they're not. It's fake workout. Fellas, understand this.
No.
Don't take a fat woman and believe her when she says she's in the gym. Every now and then you see her eating a salad, she got 3 Musketeers stuffed in her pillow. This is madness. They lie about that. They lie about that. Like, ooh, I'm working out. Why did you get fat in the first place? You know how important looks are to men? If you respected men to begin with, you wouldn't have gotten fat in the first place.
And that's another point, is that she was also always working on herself. It's not, everybody's journey isn't the same. So between therapy, we both are in therapy and working on ourselves, she was still trying to unlock what are those triggers that are keeping her that way, but at the same time trying to work on herself. So that's just side note. Let's just kind of focus on like the actual point, I guess, that Shay was saying is like, yeah, I will accept, a woman of more frame. I love the hourglass figure. Like, hell yeah. Like the clip you showed of the girl who was, of course, talking about her man, who, of course, paid for everything. Oh, I loved her figure. I thought she was beautiful. Like, but again,
yeah, she does have a nice figure. And
but again, I guess going to the actual bigger point, and it's something I think Shay is addressing it. Black women have competition. Yeah. I hate to tell you this. You have competition, and your competition is coming to the table. They see us out there, and they're like, okay, we're getting Black men internationally are getting noticed. I'll put it to you that way. There's a lot of times, even when I was with my Filipino girl I'm dating, I was getting the eye, and she was getting pissed off.
Yeah, no, that is thanks, I guess, social media and thanks passports. I mean, the competition is real. And I mean, obviously it's a little different for me because I am a woman and I'm married to a man. So it's, it's different. Yeah. But as far as like, I mean, I've talked to the Game Changer about this where it comes to the weight. I always try to take the angle more of like, because most Black women don't want to hear, look, you are like the shaming, they're just not going to hear it. There's a lot of sensitivity with Black women and their weight. It is what it is. They can't hear really any criticism when it comes to that. I always advocate more for the weight because I'm like, I can never convince a woman
that she is more or less beautiful. Like that's not, I don't feel like that's my place, but I can say the market is going to decide for you. And also like, there is nothing beautiful about you got heart disease and diabetes and there's like fat in your cells and you're having an early death because you're not healthy. Like you're not working out, you're not eating healthy. Like there's no kind of affirming Black girl magic. So I do think that there's obviously like the weight is like a real issue.
Yeah.
But the emotions is real because I'll be candid about this. I wasn't, and I think maybe I have a little more compassion too because I was overweight. I was an overweight kid, and I had a lot of people in my family who also weight. So I started dieting way super young, and I struggled with binge eating. So I understand like the food as kind of like the outlet. Like I understand that because I struggled with that for a long when I was younger and had to go through my work in order to get out of that. Now it's not an issue anymore, praise the Lord. And like I don't struggle to like eat a whole thing of cookies like I used to when I was a kid. But I'm just saying I understand that it's not always for certain people. It's not always just like, I'm gonna stop eating these cookies. Like some people need a little more help. So I think I take it from that lens, but it still needs to be addressed. It does need to be addressed either way.
Well, I mean, why did you lose the weight when you were a kid?
Huh?
Why did you lose the weight when you were a kid?
I got to where I was like, I personally didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I looked at a certain size. Me personally,
exactly.
I'm tired of this. So
which means if you have a woman who's a fat adult, she likes the way she looked. When he found his ex, she was happy. She was happy with the way she looked.
Yeah.
It's all pretend. Listen, brothers. Would you go to a doctor that's in medical school? They say, "Oh yes, I'm working to become a heart surgeon." No, they actually have to do it. You don't get with a big woman and then wait for her to get small. You know, that's a lie.
Okay, so I got a few more super chats I want to get through, and then also I have 2 more calls I'm taking. So I think it's Reese from Philly, and then I see is it Demond? Let me know in the if I got that. But I want to make sure I acknowledge these super chats. So shout out to you again with my 2 cents. Says, here's how to really see the inherent value of a Black husband or man in most Black women's life. Just re-engineer what the statistics say. Most Black women issues are society. Thank you so much for the support. I'm trying to understand. Let me see. Okay, I think you explained it here where it says statistically Black women most in debt versus with Black men in general helping with less debt. Black women currently most evicted and embracing homelessness versus Black men in general creating stability. Yeah, you're right. I've talked about this. Shout out to you here. It says statistically Black women embracing the streets, being outside, therefore creating and babies out of wedlock versus 50% of Black men preserving or protecting their seed. Yeah, right here it says statistically children under Black women's guidance have a higher chance of destruction versus guidance for Black involvement and leading to less SA. Ryan's imprisonment, etc. No, I mean, again, okay, I thank you for all of this. Again, first of all, shout out to you. And I've mentioned this before, like this brings up the question of, okay, so what makes Black women marriageable? Because we are very, 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 very clear what Black women want. And I think most men don't even dispute that. Most men don't really dispute the dating standards today. I think it's more of, well, are you the woman that man wants? Right? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What is it that you're doing? Like, what makes you marriageable? What makes you valuable for that high value man? What makes?
Oh, how dare you, Shay? Don't say that. You're being misandrous. Oh my gosh.
No, but I think that's genuine. I think that is really genuine, and I think it really there's women out there who've actually never ever once asked themselves that. They've never once considered that there's actually something that the man wants out of the relationship too, other than just her presence. You know what I mean? Like
her presence and her cooch. That's all they like. Here you go. You get access to that. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not that. Like, it's not. And then see, and I also think that's kind of misandrous too to assume that men are just so driven
basic.
By right. Like
well, once again, you know, they can't seduce a man that's not thirsty. It's not that men are so driven by that. They make sure, you know, they work towards that goal. You know, they only deal with men that are at that level of thirst to where it clouds his other judgment.
Right. Okay, this one here, it says just re-engineer it and you can see the benefit of Black men's involvement or how it helps Black women. I mean, the worst thing that happened, one of the worst things that happened in Black America was men being removed from the home. That was one of the worst things to happen ever, because it's like another horrible thing that happens is you isolate. Anytime you isolate a Black woman and you take her outside of her natural protection and outside of her natural community, which by the way is the men in her life. I'm not talking about sister girl community where they just sit around and either bicker and fight because Black women can't get along, half of them, or if they do commune, they commune on their hatred for Black men. Like, that's not community, right? I'm talking about community has accountability. There are elders, there are people that you take advice from, there are people that you are on the same level with, there are people that you help. So like community, there's levels of hierarchy. But when women are removed from that and men are nowhere in their accountability setting, to me, that is the quickest way to have exactly what we have right now, which is a whole bunch of mess. Okay, so I want to, so it's Reese from Philly. Thanks for joining. And then I have one more. Let me just get in the back real quick. But yeah, what do you have? Did you have anything you wanted to share, Reese from Philly, on this question on why Black men are struggling to trust Black women?
Why they're struggling to trust them?
Yes. Or any thoughts on this? Like, I kind of covered off 3 main reasons. I talked about politically, I talked about double standards, and then I talked about misandry on what I've observed. And so we're just continuing with that topic.
In my opinion, I think everybody's been propagandized to hate each other.
Okay. Do you care to expound or explain a little more?
Good point.
All right, so
definitely.
I'm probably much older than all of y'all, right? So I can remember a different world, completely different. And I kind of watched how things changed and what took place to make these changes.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody can debate it, because if you weren't there to see it happen, then how can you know? You know what I mean? But it just seems like when when music changed and when television changed, people changed. Some people argue that, the behavior that the television adopted, the behavior from real life. I'll accept that, but television put it out there for the world to see. And the way human beings operate, they do what they see and hear. You know what I'm saying? All of them aren't going to do it. Aren't going to do it. But if enough people see it and act on it, now you have a trend and a thing,
right,
that will last for decades. You know what I'm saying? And what bothers me is if that was the plan, right, to get men and women and to go against each other, then what is the ultimate goal? Like, is it to do away with humanity, or I don't understand none of this.
I think the ultimate goal, brother, is spending. Women spend more. Actually, both men and women spend more when they're single than when they are in a family union. A young man, right quick. A young man would spend, 2 months' pay on a watch to impress a woman when he's single. But if that same man was married, he's saving up for his children's college fund or something like that. Women, on the other hand, will spend $900 on shoes and stuff. So, the spending habits between single people and married people, is completely different. And that's why society pushed that on us.
Oh, yeah. Women are the biggest consumers. I mean, everything, I think, to a certain extent, if you follow the money, then things start to make sense.
Yes.
Right? Things start to really, really, really add up. And women are more influenced to purchase and buy. I mean, if I think of the different times I've been in marketing campaigns and doing different meetings and creating the ideal target audience profile, like 100% of the time it's been women working in agencies, businesses, small businesses, all the like. Every single time we were trying to target somebody, it was pretty much always women. They may have had different educational profile, they may have had different interests, but it was always women that we were targeting because women just tend to have more spending, higher spending habits. So that I
don't see how this could be a big cash grab to divide men and women, because let me tell you why it doesn't make sense. So every business in the world, right, whether they know it or not, is banking on more humans being born, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop something on y'all that you may not have noticed. I've told this to dozens of panels. When the last time any of you up here have seen a pregnant teen?
No, it's been a while. And I get your point, but watch
this. I haven't even made it yet. So my entire life, I remember seeing just droves of pregnant teens every summer, every year, my whole life. In the last 3 years, I haven't even seen one. In order for the businesses around the world, well, let's keep it in America. In order for our businesses to continue to thrive in the future, you're going to need more human beings for that.
Well,
okay,
you do remember
the way capitalism works. It's my mistake. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, well, you do know, and I mean, you've had people like Bill Gates openly be very open about their desire to lower the population, because when you can lower the population, then you can control them. So I do believe that there's also there's part of that too. And I mean, this depends on how deep you want to get, right? Like, I think there were obvious spiritual components.
Watch this.
But also,
Bill Gates is a billionaire, right?
Mhm.
If billions of people die, what is he after that?
No, but they want to control. Like they've broken it down. They've actually broken it down, but it was like, and then I think if you start looking at techno-feudalism and things like that, then it kind of it all comes together. But from what I've heard, and like I said, this is just some of the different things that I've seen. I can't say that I'm a total expert on it, but he talked about wanting to control the population. You've had different people, I can't think his name, it's Yanni something, but you've had different people come on and talk about their desire to ultimately shift the economy to get to where you have humans who are no longer really needed because their jobs have been overtaken by AI. And so now if you have these humans they don't really have a need for work. They're not really adding anything to society. They're just kind of like there. At a certain point, it gets to where let's get rid of the undesirables, and the only people that we want to keep are the ones who are actually adding value to the society.
And that was the point I was going to make, especially as somebody who's in tech.
Yes,
and I'm telling you right now, they're already speculating, because I've read those articles.
Yes,
and somebody who actually works in programming with AI. The AI is coming for the white collar jobs, just like the blue collar jobs.
Yeah, they are.
And with advanced robotics, that also means less people. So they don't really need anyone
as many
there, or as many. They just need somewhere to a maintenance class to pretty much just switch out components and look over the code.
Well, I'm going to say this. Go for it, brother. I wanted to say this in response to what he was saying about, companies thrive on children and babies being born. But the way it works is they're trying to move the needle immediately. It's not about the longevity of a company anymore. It's about how do I get people to buy a $9,000 purse right now. They're not how to get them to have babies so those babies will grow up and one day hopefully buy our purse. They're not going to wait 20 years for that. They're trying to get the stock from $100 a share to $101 a share today. That's their mandate. They live quarter to quarter. And if they have to make shows like the ones you're talking about, like Living Single, like Sex in the City, shows that depict a positive light of single women, where all they do is date different handsome men every week and buy new stuff, buy new Louis bags, then they're going to promote that lifestyle. And women are going to gravitate towards that lifestyle. And they're going to say, I don't have a man, I don't have kids, but I have this purse. And then the person who sold them that purse is like, yeah, and I got you. You're going to do this for a very long time. So, yeah, it's all about moving the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ. It's all about moving it up. And they don't care, what the fertility rate is. I think Sex and the City, they have like a reunion show, and they're 4 women in their 60s, and they probably still just walking around looking for peen, which is the most pathetic thing ever. But they're trying to put a positive spin on it.
Right.
And every Tyler Perry show. So yeah.
Literally every Tyler Perry show.
You don't think these businesses are worried about generational wealth and the future of their children and grands?
No.
Oh wow.
I think that no, they are. That's why they're getting that money now.
Yeah, but
very true. That's what I meant. Yeah.
You see, there was a time where companies last. You look at things like Kellogg's, and you look at things that go back for nearly 100 years. There was a time for that, but now companies come and go. Like, that's just the nature of things. Things go in and out of style.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good book called Diary of an Economic Hitman that talks about this, where companies used to, like, a good analogy you used was like would milk the cow, and even after you milk the cow and used it up and bred it out, then you would slaughter it and then use the leather and all this stuff to kind of longevity use the cow. They said now this new economic hitman, well, they just slaughter the cow and just get all the meat and say, look at all this meat I made. And it's like,
exactly.
Well, you didn't think about the using the cow for the longevity. They're just trying to milk it for it's instant gratification. And they could say, look at all these profits. And that's it.
Right. Okay, real quick, I want to let I think it was Chaos Reign, and is it Demond? I hope I did I say it right? I hope I said it right. Okay, I want to give you guys a chance to respond, and then I'm going to have to wrap this up in a few minutes. So, but I wanted to make sure you guys were able to weigh in since you've been hanging out in the back. So I'll start with you, Chaos Reign.
Oh, give me 1 second. I just want to mute the music. Next person first.
Oh, okay. Is it? I hope I didn't. Demond. Okay. What's going on? So what do you have on this topic? I know we kind of got in a little bit of a tangent about AI and everything, but we were talking about Black men struggling to trust Black women. Or just Black men not trusting Black women, period. Some of y'all said you ain't struggling with nothing. It just is what it is.
Let's see. Well, I'm more on the younger side, and I was raised in Virginia.
Okay.
Not younger, I'm about middle age. But from what I've seen is the actual acceptance of the narrative that they are pushing, which is the government. Because, to be honest, their biggest fear would be the community coming back. And that is the Black community coming back. So what you will see is they will push little things. They'll move the needle here and there. They just trying to make sure we never get up and link up together to have these conversations and shit like that.
Okay.
Sorry for cussing. I don't know if I can cuss or not.
Okay. So you think some of it is just to continue to ensure that the Black
because I can't just blame them either, because it's on us too. We don't, as men, sometimes men don't tend to look into things as much as we can do. We just go online thinking we ain't thinking about the outside effects that things can have into it. And as from what I've seen from the fair sex, y'all tend to get lost within the actual trip and y'all forget to go.
Okay.
Some not. I'm trying.
No, I mean I understand. I would argue that women are more moved by materialism or material things and are a bit more short-sighted. Whereas I found that men can have the ability, I think, to go without or to endure hardship for the greater purpose. I think there's more of an ability for men to sacrifice than women inherently.
But it's when we get into our own, like, duality has been lost. Like, okay, so I was raised by my grandparents.
Okay.
My grandpa, he quit school when he was in like 2nd grade. Couldn't read worth a lick.
Okay.
My grandma was a nurse.
Okay.
But my grandpa not being able to read a lick, he still helped build that hospital in DC, the big hospital.
Right.
Him and his brothers would drive back and forth from DC to Virginia, and they'd be swapping engines out of cars and stuff like that. Yeah. Now remember, this man quit school. He quit school in the 2nd grade.
Yes.
That's why I said the main part is the government doesn't want the community together, because when you combine the drive that the female has and you combine the capability that the man has, with Black people, we outshine everybody. Everybody. We always pass the test.
Okay.
That's why we always say, dude, y'all feel like y'all don't need men. And like, ain't no man gonna say it, because it's at least one reason that dudes ain't gonna go without. But we're not gonna say that. But
right,
the narratives have been pushed in that fashion.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Chaos Brain, are you ready to weigh in?
Yes.
in regards to the marriage and with the few black women that had problems with your content to the point they had to respond, and I mean literally respond in regards to your views about marriage. I think black women really want to control the narrative. In regards that they should have the pickings of the litter. You as black men, you must sit down, wait until it's your turn, and once it is your turn, you must open with open arms and give me everything, including your wallet. And that black TikToker that you play, Shay Sade,
Yeah, I think her name is Jessica Alford or whatever. But she's like a hypergamy, soft life black
yeah,
TikToker.
and it tells you right there that the first thing that comes out any woman's mouth about what you do for her, she is not really into you or into the marriage, and that is obviously the result. That what's going to happen is once the money is having issues, she'll be fast to sign papers very quickly, and it's not a nice fashion way. She's going to do it with a quickness. So that femininity / soft life nonsense, yeah, you're gonna get a following to a lot of black women that will sit there fall smile like that. Say, "Oh, I wish I had a man like that." Has she even shown her man on her TikTok by any chance?
I'm sorry?
Has she shown her man?
Oh yes, what I'm saying. It's like it's her and her husband. They've done stuff together.
Okay, so
yeah.
he's in with it. He's in with it for the hustle. Okay, I get what.
Yeah, my husband said the same thing. He was like, "Oh yeah." Now here's one thing I can say about people who I think are truly wealthy people. Don't go out of their way to necessarily flaunt their wealth. It's really only from what I've observed, like really maybe middle or maybe upper middle class people or people who came on wealth or who came on a little bit having a little bit really having access to credit, who go out of their way to promote that lifestyle like they're living that way. Because like people who live that way regularly, it's not like I don't say it's not exciting, but because it's their reality, it's their day-to-day reality, they don't see the need to flaunt it. Like you're only flaunting it if that's something new to you or it seems like it's like a new experience. But if you grew up with wealth or just acclimated to wealth, you have no need to try to show it off to other people. Like it becomes more of a show. And that's something that I've noticed middle class or upper middle class people, specifically black, so especially black folks. Black folks come into a little bit of money and some of them feel like they've made it and they want to show it off to other people. But when you have like real wealth and you don't feel, you just kind of, doing your thing. This is what I've observed.
And that's what I observe as well. So that's why you always got to keep in mind, Shay, when you're doing these videos, these live streams or whatever, right? Pay attention close to the comment section. Not for just a disagreement, but just in general. And you make a short assessment, say, it seems to be something I missed out of this video that my viewers caught on. I might have to do a follow-up,
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Okay, guys, I'm coming up on 3 hours, so I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. But is there anything, you guys have any final thoughts or comments that you guys want to give on this whole topic?
No.
No, I think we're good.
You guys, you good? You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
This was good. I mean, I'm sure we'll have this conversation will continue because there always is something else to address. But I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out. For those of you guys who just hopped on or are kind of hopping on late, no problem. You can go back and catch the replay. I gave multiple examples as to why I believe Black men are having a hard time, or just some are just strictly not trusting Black men. And then you guys also gave some really interesting perspectives about reputation. Reputation management, PR. Black women have horrible PR. I've talked about this explicitly in previous videos. And how you have, what ladies forget is that these things are international. So you have people tuning into culture. They're tuning into what Black Americans are doing, because Black Americans, they still do have a huge influence on culture. They're seeing what Black women are doing and they're like, what what in the hell is going on with y'all? So they also think ladies are crazy. And then you have these who are traveling and doing their different things. And you have women who are also speaking on the fact that many of the sisterhood narratives that are being promoted come off as crazy and insane in other cultures where the family structure is still very much intact. So there's a lot here. But I think it's important for ladies to understand this. So we can expand the conversation to, oh, Black women aren't married because it's Black men's fault. Like, we can't always blame Jermaine. If we continue to blame Jermaine, then nothing gets changed because no one's ever looking at Keisha, what Keisha did. You know? So that's what I got.
Jermaine.
Fantastic. Great
Right.
input.
Well, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's always good. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again, chat again.
I'm going to come back and hang out again.
All good.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. You guys, appreciate all of you. Yeah, like, share, subscribe on the way out. Get your copy if it's not Jermaine's fault. If you have a young Black boy who you want to teach about misandry, it's a really good book. I'm hoping to talk to some of you guys also and get your feedback. But yeah, be sure to check it out and let me know what you guys think about everything down in the comment section. Also, join my newsletter if you haven't already. You can be notified of just different things that are coming up. Just be notified of when things go out, when things post, and just events that I'm working on or just other projects I'm working on in general. So you can join my newsletter. That is absolutely free, $99. And thank you guys for hanging out. We'll talk later. Okay, bye.
Angel might fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Misandry tried to put him down with a Misandry vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. They came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Misandry said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and pride. In the dating game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up into the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Misandry tried to put him down with her Misandry vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. They came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Misandry said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and pride. Game and gender wars where opinions clash and play. Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Let him talk.